Chapter 1281. When the duo eaters who were on a hostage mission were killed, the people living at the border of various places also began to migrate long distances. They had to give up their original places of residence and move to the east. At the same time, they had to join the Great Tang. Once the border was no longer dangerous, they could come back if they wanted to. If they didn't want to, they could go anywhere in the Great Tang. They could even settle down in Sanshue County as long as they could find a suitable job and buy a house in Sanshue County. For a period of time, only the Great Tang soldiers would be left at the border. There would be no other people. This was a loss for the Great Tang, but it was also a gain. The loss was the local products, while the gain was a group of people who had no concept of country. The domestic construction required a large number of people. When the children were still young and their productivity was low, the handicraft industry was the best supplement and could be developed in a more labor-intensive way. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about this. It seemed that the local products were missing, but that location could be left as a backup plan. For the time being, they had to solve the problem of population flow. The population of the cities with convenient water, land, road, and railway transportation is clearly increasing. This puts a certain amount of pressure on the lives of the locals. We have to find a way to adjust. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the report sent today and said to Wang Wan, who had just finished studying the military map. Wang Wan rubbed her temples. When she was looking at the map just now, she had to analyze it while looking at it. It was tiring. Not only did she have to formulate strategic goals that could change at any time according to the situation on the battlefield, she also had to summarize history and find suitable battle tactics. As the army on the three fronts slowly advanced, the problem of adapting to the environment was placed in front of them. There was also the various terrains, where in history, who won with a small number of people, how they fought, and what were the relevant factors. She had to put them into the current Great Tang army. Otherwise, it would be easy to be schemed against by the enemy. The death of a large number of soldiers would make their families very sad. The purpose of war was to gain benefits, not sacrifice. The more she thought about it, the more her head hurt. It looked like a small-scale battle tactic, but when countless tactical objectives were completed, the commander would discover that there were actually new strategic objectives that could be achieved. This was not something that could be changed by one's will. Even the most outstanding strategist would not be able to predict the final outcome from the beginning. Thus, Wang Wan had several marching routes in her mind. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that the path ahead was foggy. Zhang Xiaobao's voice pulled her out of the fog. Wang Wan sighed softly and asked, "Don't tell me you want to have different household registers in different places? When we arrive in other cities, we are not allowed to buy a house, and we are also deprived of benefits. At the same time, even the schools that our children attend are restricted." Zhang Xiaobao saw that Wang Wan was no longer worried about strategy and tactics. He smiled and said, "I'm not stupid. We can't lose the people's hearts that we worked so hard to gather so easily. What happened before was the result of internal strife between factions." At the same time, there was also the problem of the population demand for the overall economic development plan of the country. In fact, there were many cases in history where a large number of people migrated, especially when there was a disaster. The people who fled to other places caused a lot of trouble for the local people. I've thought about it carefully, and I don't think we can solve this problem by force. As for houses, as long as the outsiders have the money and are willing to buy them, they can buy them. There is no need to stop them, because we don't have any internal conflicts, and the imperial power is supreme. So, Wang Wan cooperated and led the way. So, what we need to do the most now is to increase the research and production of luxury goods sold at home, and to convert the machinery of Datong heavy industry to civilian use, Zhang Xiaobao said very straightforwardly. Ha, Datong heavy industry. Can you stop criticizing the term heavy industry? Steel production uses indigenous methods, at most with some advanced technological thinking. Oil refining uses indigenous methods. Of course, for the current Datong people, it is very advanced. Look at our collection of liquefied petroleum gas. They collect thousands of tons at one time, and we can't even reach 1/10,000th of their collection. When Wang Wan thought of the term heavy industry, she found it funny. After laughing, A hopeful look appeared on her face. She was arguing with Zhang Xiaobao not because she felt that the current Tang industry should not continue to research. One day, it would achieve its goal. At least for now, it was at the forefront of the world. After arguing, Wang Wan realized that to solve the problem of population flow and concentration, why did he mention luxury goods and the machinery of the Ministry of Works? She then asked, "Hubby, do you think that with luxury goods and machinery, the pressure on the populated areas will be reduced?" Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be scared and then said with certainty, "Of course, if this is done well, the problem of population flow and concentration will also be solved. I am willing to listen to your opinion." Wang Wan stood up from her seat and sat beside Zhang Xiaobao, gently leaning her head on Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder. She had already realized that Xiao Bao suddenly mentioned this information not because there was no way to solve the problem, but because he deliberately said it to her so that she would be able to escape from the troubles of the previous strategic arrangements. With a man like this accompanying her, she would be happy for the rest of her life. Zhang Xiaobao adjusted his sitting position to make Wang Wan more comfortable and said, "Actually, the main reason for a large number of people to gather in places with convenient transportation is that there can be more profits from the circulation of goods and port processing. With more profits, the wages will also be higher. So what should we do to make the wages in other places higher? The simplest way is to use policies to reduce taxes and other expenses in other places, and at the same time, to build infrastructure. It involves the word money. Right now, we have free medical care, free education, infant support benefits, employment training benefits, elderly protection benefits, and direct state compensation benefits in disaster areas. In addition to the previous large number of low-interest and interest-free loan benefits, we don't have much money to do other things." "You mean to rely on luxury goods to make money, and then use it to implement policies and infrastructure in other places?" Wang Wan asked cooperatively. "Yes, head. There is a very important problem in the process of the floating population gathering in key cities, and that is the concentration of capital. The concentration of capital in one area is an empty statement, but the real concentration is in the hands of businessmen. Businessmen who make a lot of money will have a high tax rate, but they still have too much money that they can't use. Money is just a number, and behind it represents the support of money. Unless I cause a large amount of inflation, they won't be able to use the corresponding resources if they don't spend money. When they have money, I give them 3 choices. One is to deposit it in a bank, and they will earn interest. Then, I will use the bank to lend money, and at the same time, maintain the growth rate of inflation at the deposit interest rate, right?" Zhang Xiaobao asked Wang Wan. Wang Wan had a smile on her face. "Yes, the deposit in the bank is actually not the appreciation of money, but the preservation of value. Many people don't understand, and they always feel that they have too much money in their hands. In the end, when they buy things, the price of things will also increase. If the bank is really used to increase the value of depositors, then when the bank lends out, it will require more interest. In the end, the original interest of the deposit currency will actually depreciate. Money doesn't appear out of thin air, and the amount of money that appears is related to productivity. The only advantage is that this part of the money from the bank can be used to support production technology, and it can increase the basic raw materials of goods. The people who deposit their money in the bank get a higher level of enjoyment, and not an absolute increase in money. The higher level of enjoyment includes the lowering of the price of new products and certain low-end goods in certain aspects. For example, there will be a radio in the future. Another example is that the yield of cabbage per mu will increase, and the price will be lower. But when the people measure the money in their hands, they don't think about it like that. They think about whether the goods that are in the middle of society are cheaper. Is it cheaper? No. If it is really cheaper, it means that this kind of goods is no longer in the middle of society. It has been reduced to the status of cabbage. Unfortunately, there are too few people who can understand this. What are the remaining 2 paths you arranged for them?" Wang Wan temporarily stopped thinking about the war and helped Zhang Xiaobao think about the rich people. Zhang Xiaobao stretched out his arm and hugged Wang Wan's waist. He didn't say anything immediately. Instead, he sighed about what Wang Wan said just now. Just as Wang Wan said, the country's protection of capital is not the protection of the currency itself, but the protection of the quality of life of the people in the process of national strength. Luxury goods are still luxury goods, and what can't be bought is still not affordable. But in the process of currency flow and depreciation, the investment in production technology is the most important part. Many people say that things are expensive. In the past, a piece of fermented bean curd was 2 cents, but now it was 3 cents. In fact, in the past, he earned 50 yuan a month, but now he earned 2,500 yuan a month. Then the price ratio of the fermented bean curd back then to the current one was 1:15, and the income ratio was 1:50. Moreover, the fermented bean curd now is more delicious. But why does it feel expensive? Because with the development of technology, people's needs are also increasing. They spend too much on other aspects, and it doesn't feel like the price has dropped. Overall, it means that things are expensive. In the past, they don't need too many goods. Having a bungalow to live in and a radio is a good pursuit, and they can save a lot of money to buy fermented bean curd. After that, there are cars, televisions and phones, more gold and diamond jewelry, and there are electricity and gas in the house. Unknowingly, there are more ways to spend money in life, and it feels expensive to buy a triangle of fermented bean curd. What is the root of this problem? It's not the depreciation of the currency, nor is it how much the price has dropped. It's because the proportion of people who own the currency is in the minority in society, which is also called polarization. The better a country could control polarization, the more stable the political and economic system of that country would be. Zhang Xiaobao feels that there is still a long way to go. Because of polarization, in addition to the corruption of officials and economic loopholes, there is also the existence of individuals in society. People are smart. If they can make money, they will naturally have money. If they make more money, it is unreasonable to collect more taxes from others. Why? But there is no other way. After all, you live in a group. Your income comes from the group, and your safety comes from the group. Therefore, Zhang Xiaobao can only control polarization through other means, and not eliminate it. If polarization is really eliminated, then the whole society will lose the motivation to move forward. Everyone will not work hard. No matter how hard they work, in the end, they will get the same result as others. Who is stupid? Zhang Xiaobao now wants to discuss this problem with Wang Wan. There are 2 other ways. One way is to enjoy. We can make more luxury goods and sell them. The profit of luxury goods has always been much higher than the proportion of goods that people enjoy. It is almost hundreds or thousands of times higher. Among 100 people, if you enjoy a radio and others don't, then you will definitely pay more than 100 times the cost of the radio. You may have to pay 1,000 times or 10,000 times the cost. If they enjoy it, we will have money. We will use this money to do what we said before. The third way is to guide the rich to underdeveloped areas, which are inconvenient and have low production capacity. We will provide them with preferential policies. They can build their own roads, or we can build the roads. It is the same. If we build the roads, they will have to pay in other aspects. If they build the roads, they will get more policies. I hope that they will choose to build their own infrastructure. We will turn the money used to build the roads into loans to them. At the same time, we will increase their policy benefits. The gains and losses are the same. There is not much difference. The difference is that this kind of company has a social responsibility and confidence in self-development. I will pay attention to it and look for them if there is something good in the future. Of course, there are policy benefits and policy requirements. That is, when their investment and output ratio is the same as the ratio of the same industry and the same strength of businessmen in prosperous cities, they must pay the same wages as the prosperous cities. In this way, everyone will not have to go to the key cities to carry out a one-way labor flow. I should have killed all the people in your city's civil affairs department back then. They lost a talent. Wang Wan said with a smile. I have never regretted the path I have taken. If I had to choose again, I would still want to do that. Because that way, I will still meet you. Disgusting. You have a clever mouth. Wang Wan lightly punched Zhang Xiaobao. What if they don't follow your train of thought and deliberately oppose you? I am saying what if. The truth is that they will listen to you. Especially after the news of you traveling thousands of miles to rescue them is exposed in the newspapers. Everyone will be more patriotic. If I have to say what if, it is that if they don't agree, I will use my own money to build non-key cities. In the end, I will use cheap products to attack their profits. Our business is expanding very slowly now because we want to give them more space to develop. It is not because I don't have the ability to expand. I have not made any plans to attack the domestic economy because I promised you. At the same time, it is because I love this nation. It does not mean that I am afraid of them. If they force me into a corner, I will teach them a lesson. You must know that the technology and the banking system are in my hands. Why did we withdraw from the shares of Great Tang Bank? We held the shares, and Li Longji did not dare to trust us. There would be other shareholders who would come in and criticize us. I withdrew, but I am in control. Whoever controls the banking system controls the entire society. Zhang Xiaobao's tone was very calm when he said this, but Wang Wan could hear a sense of absolute arrogance. She admitted that Zhang Xiaobao had this ability. Otherwise, the order back then would not have been just to capture and not kill. Wang Wan was very happy when she thought about how she had captured such a person. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Don't be anxious. When you invade, let them take over the domestic economy. They are very obedient. If someone really dares to disobey, I will directly publish an article in the newspaper, saying that a certain corporation has hurt me and Xiaobao too much. In the future, when they are in danger outside, I will no longer help them and let the imperial court send troops. That way, their corporation will not need to face any danger outside. The other businessmen in the country will kill them. When the Meteor Battle Squad returns successfully, our prestige will be even higher. Rescue, revenge, regardless of the distance, regardless of the cost. I believe that this is what every citizen in every country wants to see the most." That's right. If the country could treat me like this back then, Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's go meet Huang Yao Ben. Previously, I gave him some ideas as a deity. Why did he not look for a deity and insist on looking for us? Would a deity lie to him? Seeing that Wang Wan was happy, Zhang Xiaobao remembered that Huang Yao Ben had come to meet him and Wang Wan today. Previously, when they were eating the barbecue, he gave Huang Yao Ben an idea at the last moment. He told them how to earn money and also help the country develop. However, after Huang Yao Ben returned, he first looked for someone to discuss and formulate a plan. When the preliminary plan was out, he came to the Blue Sea Silver Sands to look for him and Wang Wan. Seriously, why did he have to come looking for us? I still wanted to have some tenderness with my husband. Wang Wan retracted her head and stood up. Then, why don't we ignore him first and have some tenderness in bed? Zhang Xiaobao stood up as well. Hooligan. Wang Wan led the way and walked out. Zhang Xiaobao scratched his head and walked behind Wang Wan. He muttered to himself, "The most difficult thing to deal with in this world is the woman you love deeply. If you don't think of a way to coax her, you won't be able to live with your conscience. Why don't you coax such a good woman? If you use a strategy to coax her, you won't be able to live with your conscience. Why do you want to scheme against such a good woman? If you don't use any tricks and just coax her from the bottom of your heart, you won't be able to live with your conscience. Why do you have to be so straightforward with such a good woman? Can't you know how to be romantic? You are using schemes to coax me now. If you want to mutter, stay away from me. Don't let me hear you." Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and pursed her lips into a smile. When the two arrived at the meeting place, Huang Yao Ben had already drunk 2 cups of tea and eaten half a kilogram of snacks. He was holding a ripe watermelon and gnawing on it. When he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, Huang Yao Ben hurriedly stood up and took out a stack of papers. He said to the two of them, "You are finally here. I'm mainly looking for Xiaobao. A deity gave me an idea. I think it's pretty good, but I'm worried about him. Xiaobao, help me take a look and see if he's lying to me. I nearly got someone to follow the plan, but I thought it wasn't right. I need to discuss it with you. Who said that deities can't lie? I'll only be at ease if you take a look. Chapter 1282. Huang Yaoben looked at Zhang Xiaobao expectantly. As for Wang Wan, he selectively ignored her. He felt that it was better to talk to Xiaobao about economic matters. Cuckoo should be used for war. Huang Yaoben was very excited. He had just applied to meet Xiaobao yesterday, and it was approved yesterday. They arranged to meet today, just as he had expected. Xiaobao and Cuckoo seemed to have high status, but they were so close to the people of Tang. As long as there was something important, as long as they had time, they would meet with you. Of course, if you were bored and came to chat with them, it would probably not work. Zhang Xiaobao did not take the proposal. Instead, he looked up at the sky. After a while he said, "They are just small gods. Killing them is as easy as killing an ant." Huang Yaoben also looked up at the sky. He did not see anything, but he was very excited. It seems that Xiaobao and Cuckoo are also gods. They are not afraid of these two. Xiaobao, since they have no influence on Tang, what they said. Huang Yaoben still wanted to do something that would benefit Tang. Now that he had recovered, he felt that everything he ate tasted good and did not have diarrhea. He thought that the gods had some tricks up their sleeves. The problem now was whether the gods' tricks would work. As he spoke, he handed the proposal over. Zhang Xiaobao still did not take it. He showed a gentle smile and said to Huang Yaoben, "Okay, we will do as we have discussed. Pay attention to hygiene and safety. Tell the people who come later to not urinate and defecate everywhere. Also, if anyone comes later, they should first cut their hair, bathe, and change their clothes. There will be some investment in the beginning. Don't worry, we will give you some money first for you to use. Don't spend your family's money. Your status in your family is not high now. If you don't have more money, you will be easily bullied by your family." Huang Yaoben listened to Zhang Xiaobao's words. He looked down at the proposal in his hand, looked up at Zhang Xiaobao, and then looked up at the sky. He could not help but gulp and said nervously, "Xiaobao, you can also count? I don't even have to ask, but I already know what the deities are telling me. We can only calculate the matters of immortals. When immortals descend to the mortal world, they will definitely disturb the stars. Even if it's a small god, their every move is within our calculations. It's not easy to calculate the actions of ordinary people. It goes against the harmony of the heavens." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he felt very embarrassed. He had already lied to her once, and he had to continue lying. If someone else had used the same method to lie to him, he would have fought them to the death. Huang Yao did not feel that he had been cheated. In fact, he was very happy. With two immortals in charge, he did not have to worry about other immortals causing trouble in the future. After some consideration he asked, "Then, what about the other matter? Let's do it together. Since you can't handle the logistics, you can first make empty trucks to distribute goods. Open up the shop first, then cooperate with the local government's transport team and postal team. You can take on private jobs in the future. In this way, you don't have to worry about problems or being cheated." Zhang Xiaobao immediately explained another plan of the immortals. In fact, the latter was not as important as the first. The first was that Zhang Xiaobao thought that the people at the border would come over. Before the war was settled, they could not let them go back. They probably would not be willing to go back. If they were to come over, they would definitely think of the nearest bustling city, Yizhou, once they entered the Tang Empire's territory. Tens of thousands of people squeezing in, as well as the short-term cyclical manpower during the transportation process, would put a lot of pressure on the local government. If it had been the previous provincial governor, the one who built the park, he would have been able to arrange it properly. However, the current government would definitely not be able to do so. It would be chaotic. His younger brothers and sisters would arrange for some of the transportation workers to do the work. It would not be good to leave the outsiders to his younger brothers and sisters. They would also be too busy. Furthermore, there was another problem. If there were only a few outsiders, the locals would not think much of it and would accept them easily. It was a kind of sympathy and pity. When there were more people, it would affect the local industries, especially the low-skilled industries. The most direct would be the pure manual labor group. There would be conflicts. If they were not resolved early, when the conflicts erupted, they would have to pay a higher price to appease them. It just so happened that they met Huang Yaoben, a person who had a bit of a mental illness. When they were treating him, they used him once. In the process of chatting, they found that this fellow was a talent. Thus, they decided to leave this matter to him. They would have Huang Yaoben mark out a piece of land where the new city was being built. It would be used to settle the people who came from the border and form a settlement. They would be given low wages, but they would be given full benefits. The low wages could be explained to them as rescuing them and settling them down. They would have to repay the initial investment. However, if they were not given full benefits, they would think that they were inferior. Such a situation wasn't a good thing. If they felt that they were inferior, others would unconsciously look down on them. They had no knowledge, no culture, and no skills. Why would they come to live with the Tang people? After settling them down, Huang Yaoben could have them do simple work, manual labor, and low-skilled manual work. When they gradually adapted to life and had more contact with the locals, they would be dispersed through the second plan. The second plan was a part of the logistics industry, the distribution of goods. Just the distribution of goods would reduce the risks of the transportation process. It was suitable for newcomers. At the same time, they would first interact with the authorities and learn from them. The scale of the distribution of goods would be set up and they would start to expand outwards. During the expansion process, a portion of the people who came from the border would follow the branches out. After that, they would expand and split up again. They could not let the people who came from the border stay together. Otherwise, it would form a situation of clumping together in a small area. Once a person had some friction with the local people, it would cause a lot of harm. This was how things were. One of the many links would link the other aspects together. Huang Yaoben did not know how big Zhang Xiaobao's plan was. He only thought that if he did well, his status in the family would rise, and he would earn a lot of money. He would also help his country, Great Tang. Thus, he was filled with confidence. He shook the proposal in his hand and asked, "Xiaobao, are you really not going to take a look? What if there is something wrong with it? I believe in you. I believe that you will definitely arrange everything properly. You are a rare talent. Otherwise, the gods would not have looked for you." Zhang Xiaobao patted Huang Yaoben's shoulder and encouraged him. Thank you. Xiaobao, don't worry. I promise that I will not embarrass you. When they come, I will get them to get a haircut. Anyway, it can still grow after a haircut. I will arrange it immediately." Huang Yaoben was filled with pride. What was there to be afraid of? With the guidance of the gods and Xiaobao's support, there was nothing to be afraid of. With that, he turned around to leave. Wait a moment. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of something. After calling out to Huang Yaoben, he continued to look at the sky. The clouds in the sky were blown back and forth by the wind. Occasionally, there would be a few birds accompanying them. They were not egrets, but they still gave off a serene and leisurely feeling. Wang Wan leaned over and gestured for Huang Yaoben to be silent. She did not want Huang Yaoben to disturb Xiaobao. Wang Wan knew that Xiaobao had suddenly thought of something else. As for what it was, she would have to wait for Xiaobao to figure it out. After that, it would probably be another series of arrangements. She liked to see Xiaobao's expression the most. No matter from which angle she looked at it, she felt that Xiaobao was full of charm. Every time this happened, it was the time to test a person's talent. To think of a series of problems in a short period of time and then work together to make overall arrangements was not something that anyone could do. She felt that the most interesting thing was that, when this man of hers arranged the economic arrangements, it was like a plug-and-play port on a computer. In a situation where there was no additional hardware or software connected to the system could operate normally. If there was a sudden problem that required the installation of hardware and software, the original system would not be disrupted. In other words, the system was not affected by any external factors during the process of operation. It was very stable and had strong compatibility. It was hard to figure out why and how it was done. Huang Yaoben looked at Wang Wan and waited with her. After a while, Zhang Xiaobao came back to his senses and said to Huang Yaoben, "The sky is really blue. It's so blue that it makes one's heart beat. Looking at it, one feels tranquil. Even if there are floating clouds, one's heart will not move. Then, should it move or not?" Huang Yaoben was very depressed. After looking at the sky, Xiaobao actually said that there was no place to spend his time on this kind of thing. Relative silence, absolute movement. Whether it moves or not, it depends on the heart. Zhang Xiaobao replied. Huang Yaoben nodded helplessly. If that's the case, then, what should I do? Move, dance with the white clouds, and accompany the blue sky. Xiaobao, you're talking about your family's big eagle, water cloud, right? I can't fly up there. I can't fly up there either. Let's get down to business. Wang Wan was not willing. Why were they talking in riddles? She still had to cook for Xiao Bei and the others. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said, "You're too engrossed. Actually, the sky is really blue. Okay, I'll tell you. Southwest of Yi Province's main river, there's a swamp. Further west, there's a wasteland." Is there? There's a swamp, but I've never seen a wasteland. Huang Yaoben thought about the terrain, but it seemed that he had never seen one before. Could it be that he did not know enough about his hometown? That's possible. You haven't seen a wasteland, but have you seen a barren mountain? Zhang Xiaobao asked. Huang Yaoben nodded. I know. What do you want to do? Flatten the mountain and fill in the swamp. Zhang Xiaobao said. What's the use? We'll need a lot of manpower. Huang Yaoben was not stupid. He immediately thought of the amount of work. A few small hills did not look high, but if he really dug them up, there would be a lot of soil. Listen to me. When the time comes, you do it first. Remember to clean up. Collect all the feces. I'll have someone build a methane tank for you. Zhang Xiaobao did not explain too much to Huang Yaoben. He hoped that Huang Yaoben would be able to figure it out himself. Huang Yaoben was very obedient. He turned around and left with doubts in his heart. His mind was already beginning to ponder. Let's go and cook. What are we eating for lunch today? Zhang Xiaobao turned his head and asked Wang Wan. Eat white clouds. Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao had no intention of explaining to her in detail, so she said in a huff. Okay, make snow bean paste. It looks like white clouds. Xiao Bei and the others will definitely like it. Zhang Xiaobao readily agreed. He walked towards the kitchen to make snow bean paste. However, he was not going to eat it as a dish, but as a snack. Otherwise, he would not be able to eat the rice. It was too sweet. Moreover, the bean paste inside was enough to fill his stomach. Wang Wan followed him to the kitchen, thinking about what could be done by flattening the barren mountain. It seemed to be useless. It was just a waste of labor. Very quickly, the snow bean paste ingredients were prepared. Zhang Xiaobao stopped and did not make it. Because it had been left out for too long, he did not feel like eating cotton. He had to make it now. He began to prepare other dishes. Today's weather was not very hot. Although the sky was clear and there were not many clouds, there was a moderate wind. The air pressure was also not high or low. The good thing was that the relative humidity in the air was low. Generally speaking, the local situation was more humid. Zhang Xiaobao prepared to make stir-fried dishes. No matter what it was, he would stir-fry it into shreds. First, he would stir-fry garlic with meat. Then, he would stir-fry celery with meat. Third, he would stir-fry squid with chives. Fourth, he would stir-fry meat. Finally, he would make shredded potato soup. It was not easy for others to eat potatoes, but it had nothing to do with his family. Wang Wan looked and said, "It's so simple. This stir-fry meat, that stir-fry meat, don't you know how to add a little variety? And the amount seems to be too little, right? They can't eat too much today. They will go back to play after dinner. I guess they will choose to play outside. When they eat some snacks, we can suggest that they go to the river to have a look. It's the river next to the swamp, or the one on the other side of the barren mountain. They can catch fish, dig for river snails, and bring them back. I will cook for you at night, Zhang Xiaobao said as if he was talking to himself. Wang Wan thought about it. She was actually in a good mood today. Her body was also comfortable. Could it be related to the weather? Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao started to get busy, she also went to help cook. It was boiled, not steamed. Using an earthen stove to cook, the cooked rice was fragrant. There would be rice crust left at the bottom. It was just right to eat the various shredded pieces. After a while, the 4 dishes were ready. He asked someone to call the little guys to eat. After the 4 dishes were served, he would make the soup. Xiaobei and the others had already finished their studies for the day. They also brought the little boy who played games with them over to eat together. They had to educate the little boy well. There was no rule against talking while eating. Talking while eating helped with digestion. The more harmonious a family was, the more they liked to chat while eating. If there were conflicts at home, and at the same time, there was pressure from work outside, it was easy to talk while eating. Then, there would be situations where they would not be able to eat due to anger. Brother, we have already started to arrange for the small periodic labor force to build the new city. I want to ask, when the new city is built, what will happen to the city here? Xiaobei drank 2 mouthfuls of soup first. She specially picked out the chopped green onions in the soup to eat. She liked the taste the most, so when she made soup at home, she would deliberately fry the chopped green onions. Zhang Xiaobao stopped eating and said, "We will also renovate here. When the time comes, there will be no distinction between the old and the new. The two will be merged into one, making the city bigger and easier to manage. Also, the outside can be used as a garden." Xiaobei nodded and continued eating. The little boy who was being educated had also been eating with them for the past few days. He only went home after eating at night. When he came back early in the morning and heard others talking, he could not help but ask, "Brother Xiaobao, are we going to sell the flowers that we planted?" "I'm not selling, and you're not allowed to give me a discount either. When the city gets bigger, it'll take a long time to walk from one end to the other. It'll be good to see a bunch of flowers." Zhang Xiaobao treated them equally. "I am in a good mood when I come back from outside. I can see the flowers before I get home, right?" the little boy asked. "You are so smart. Don't eat the food on the table. Put it there." Zhang Xiaobao praised and stopped the little boy from dropping the food on the table because he was distracted and wanted to eat it. The little boy obediently did not touch it. He picked up another portion and put it in his bowl. He ate it together with the rice. At first glance, it was obvious that he used to eat like this. It was very likely that he did not have a separate plate for the food. He just put the food in his bowl and found a place to squat down and eat. Zhang Xiaobao did not care about this kind of habit. As long as he was comfortable eating, it was fine. As for hygiene and digestion problems, those situations would not occur, because this was already a habit. It was easy to cause problems if it could be changed. If he really wanted to be hygienic, then he would separate the meals. Everyone would eat one portion and use the public utensils to eat. After eating for a while, Xiao Zhu put down her chopsticks and asked her brother, "Brother, I have seen the plan of the new city. In addition to the school, the yamen, the medical center, and the remaining restaurants, there is only a small area left for large houses. In the future, when the economic development is better and there are more rich people, what should we do if there are not enough large houses?" "This is a good question. Let your sister answer it." Zhang Xiaobao threw down this sentence and buried his head in eating. Wang Wan was stunned. She met her sister's gaze and suddenly thought of something. She glared at Zhang Xiaobao and replied, "There is a swamp area outside the city. There are also a few barren hills. When the time comes, we will flatten the hills and fill the swamp with soil. Then we will build villas there. There are small rivers on both sides. The scenery is beautiful, the sky is blue, and there are even floating clouds. At this time, She finally understood why Xiao Bao had asked Huang Yao to do what he did. The scenery was beautiful, the environment was beautiful, and building villas was perfect for people who had money but did not know how to spend it. It was a luxury type of existence. Xiao Zhu did not know that this arrangement was made not long ago. She tilted her head and thought for a while before asking, "What about manpower?" Moving the mountains requires a lot of manpower. Just the wages spent are not small. Is it worth it? Yes. Is it worth it? For short-term laborers like us, we need to pay a lot of wages every day. Xiao Bei followed up with a question. He even stretched out his hand and moved his fingers. It was as if he was calculating how much money was spent. Wang Wan smiled and said to Xiao Bei, "Little money grubber, the more you spend, the more you earn. However, the cost of manpower doesn't need to be too high. It's the people who came from the western border. If we suddenly give them the same wage, they will become confused and won't know how to spend it. First, give them some time and let them gradually adapt. Treat it as compensation for the cost of rescuing and migrating them." Yes. We need to compensate them. I heard that they did not have much of a sense of belonging in the past. If they are like our original patriots, then won't the patriots feel sad in their hearts? Xiao Bei supported. "Brother, I still have something to say." After Xiao Bei supported not giving more money to the newcomers, he said, "We plan to build a leather processing factory. A large-scale one. Where do you think it should be? You are not allowed to build it." Zhang Xiaobao rejected directly. Chapter 1283. In the afternoon, the little guys asked to go to the swamp to play. They said that they wanted to check the terrain in advance and teach the little boy, who liked to play games and not go to school, how to catch river snails. They brought a lot of people and specially prepared long bamboo poles with hooks. After the 9 little guys experienced the dangers of the swamp, they had always been afraid of the swamp. As for Zhang Xiaobao not allowing them to build a large fur processing plant, they were not unhappy. After all, they were used to it. They could always find opportunities to make a fortune, but every time this business was done, it would cause conflicts in the local industries, and their brother would stop it. Only those that could make a little money and could make up for the shortcomings of other industries were allowed. So they did not care. At most, they would think about it later. There were plenty of opportunities to make money. They could think about it while learning about the relationships between various industries and the knowledge taught by their brother. For example, this fur processing plant. Izhou was very important. The daily throughput of goods was very large. In addition, there would be a steady stream of small caravans coming and going from the occupied areas by land. Then, whoever monopolized the trade of fur would be able to influence at least 50 provinces through this trade. How could such a big influence be monopolized casually? If Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family built a fur processing plant here, how could other businessmen in the same industry survive? Who would sell the fur to others in the future? Therefore, Xiao Bei and the other 8 understood that in an important area of material circulation, there could not be a monopoly in any industry. Otherwise, it would cause artificial price disruption to the whole area and the products in the surrounding radiation area. In turn, this showed that monopolies were very profitable. At the same time, they could gain other benefits beyond the value of the goods, such as local political connections and cross-industry connections. Xiao Bei and the others could understand, but the little boy who was being educated by them was confused. He couldn't understand how building a factory had anything to do with all this nonsense. For a moment, the little boy began to have a new yearning for school. He felt that he did not understand, but Xiao Bei and the others could. When he played with them, he could not lift his head. After sending his brothers and sisters to the door and watching them leave, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "The local scenery is really good. When we build villas in the future, let's buy 2. We can live here when we are free." Wang Wan did not pay attention to what Zhang Xiaobao said. What villa? Could he come here once a year in the future? Even if they really needed to come over, it was impossible for them to live in the villa. No matter how big the villa was, how could it compare to the restaurant at home? You should learn from the real estate developers in the future and get some money first. Seeing that Wang Wan didn't answer, Zhang Xiaobao said something else. Should we advertise first and ask them to take out a portion of the money as a deposit before the house is built? The agreement is 20 strings of coins per square meter. After the house is built, it will become 50 strings of coins per square meter. If they don't take out the money, we can return the deposit to them for free? Wang Wan asked with a smile. That's right. It's a commonly used method. It's not new anymore. But every time it's used, there will always be people who fall for it. Real estate developers will buy in advance to drive up the sales figures and encourage more people to buy. Then, they will refund the money without paying any interest. At this time, administrative orders should be used to regulate and not a simple market economy. Because guiding the public is one of the functions of the government. Zhang Xiaobao was just saying. He didn't want to use such methods to cheat people to make money. Wang Wan knew that Zhang Xiaobao wasn't saying that he wanted to do this. But with the development of the social economy, other businessmen would think of such a good method, especially when ordinary people were buying houses. When the truly rich people bought expensive houses, no one would dare to cheat them. When the time came, people would be cheated by real estate developers one after another. Other than scolding the real estate developers, they would also complain to the country about why the imperial court didn't do anything. After a long time, the imperial court would lose its credibility. In the future, when there was something that required the help of the people would dawdle in the beginning. Later on, when there was danger, not only would the people not be anxious, but they would also gloat. Then, the country would be finished. Unlike now, when the people were very obedient and did whatever they were told to do. It was said that the people could be ordered, but they couldn't be made to know. But with the current credibility of the imperial court, there was no need to explain. Just tell the people directly that if you dug a ditch in front of their house, even if the people understood, they would work hard to dig a ditch because they believed that the imperial court wouldn't do anything to harm them. Such people's trust was easy to lose, but difficult to gain. It was important to protect them as much as possible. The trust of the people in you wasn't something that you could rely on to harm the people, so you had to cherish it. So, you want the imperial court to strengthen the legislation and enforcement in this area? Wang Wan directly brought up Zhang Xiaobao's plan for this boring matter. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. That's right. We have to do it in advance so that those businessmen who think that they are smart enough to have such thoughts will give up on it. We have to prepare for a rainy day. The only thing that worries me is whether the officials in the imperial court will stop us for their own interests. It's not good for us to always interfere, as it will affect the imperial power. Even if Li Longji doesn't say anything, others will still find fault with us. So? Wang Wan asked. So, let them suffer a little first. When the time comes, we'll use this opportunity to resolve the matter. Communicate with Li Longji first and set a trap for the other officials in the imperial court, Zhang Xiaobao said with a sinister smile. All right, let's report it. Wang Wan agreed. 5 days later, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan estimated that the team that went to Jinla should have news back, Li Longji had finished discussing with the officials in the morning court in the capital. When they returned to their posts, he began to call them. Li Longji's behavior was purely because he had nothing better to do. He didn't say it when the morning court ended and insisted on waiting for them to return before using the phone. It was obvious that he hadn't lost interest in this new communication tool. Connect to the Ministry of Works. Look for Zhang Zhong in the Shang study room of the Ministry of Works. Zhang Qing. Come to Xingqing Palace. There's something important to discuss. Li Longji made the call. It was still manually connected. Zhang Zhong didn't know what was going on, but he agreed. Li Longji put down the phone and picked it up again. Connect to the Ministry of Revenue. Look for the Minister of Revenue. Wang Qing. Go to Xingqing Palace. He called them one by one like this, tirelessly. However, the officials were already used to it. Ever since the phones were installed, Her Majesty would call them for no reason and then talk about things that didn't concern the overall situation. When she really couldn't find a topic to talk about, she would even ask what they wanted to eat for lunch. No one knew when these days would end. Not long after, the officials who had just entered office mode were summoned by Li Longji to Xingqing Palace. Xingqing Palace had been renovated and was 50% larger than before. Moreover, a lot of good wood and stones were used. The officials stood in the small square in front of Xingqing Palace and waited for Her Majesty to speak. At the same time, they looked at the current building and the newly planted flowers and plants that had been brought in from elsewhere. They were all calculating how much money had been used to build Xingqing Palace, which had already looked very beautiful before and was now even more beautiful than before. Everyone, look at the big fish tank that I had people bring in yesterday. Don't you think it looks more comfortable than the previous one? It's a pity that there are no fish in it. I have to buy 2 first. Let me introduce it to you. This fish tank is not only bigger, but the glass is also stronger than before. Look, look, look. In addition to the bigger fish tank, there is also an automatic water circulation system supported by electricity, a lamp in the water, and a heating and oxygenation system. The Ministry of Works specially made them and set up a separate manufacturing and sales department. When you go back today, if you want to buy them, you can look for Minister Zhang. He will give you a 20% discount. Li Longji introduced happily, like a child showing off his new clothes to others. When the officials heard Her Majesty's words, they all gritted their teeth. She called them over just to see the fish tank? It was beautiful, but Her Majesty really had nothing to do. Now she was advertising for the Ministry of Works? Among the crowd, Jiang Tsen of the Agriculture Temple didn't think much of it. The design of the fish tank was indeed very good. However, before Her Majesty used it, the Agriculture Temple had already used it and it was more practical than this one. At the same time, the number of fish tanks in front of them was far more than the fish tank in front of them. Jiang Tsen knew that he had applied for 12 fish tanks from the Ministry of Works alone to be used to observe the situation of the crops in the water so that better cultivation and pest control could be carried out. Jiang Tsen felt very happy. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo spared no effort in supporting the Agriculture Temple, but at the same time, he also knew that he couldn't show this happiness. Otherwise, Her Majesty would be very angry if she heard about it. Who asked him to use it so late? Jiang Tsen was very cooperative and asked, Your Majesty, how much is a 20% discount for a fish tank like this? It's not expensive. The total is 120 strings of coins. The entire set of equipment will be guaranteed for 3 years after you buy it. As long as it's not broken by people with stones, you can replace it if it's too damaged. If it's not damaged, you can repair it. I guarantee that it will be comfortable and convenient to use. Li Longji was very suitable to be a promoter and patiently introduced the fish tank. Jiang Tsen frowned and asked again, Your Majesty, 120 strings of coins is expensive, right? It's still a 20% discount. We are not outsiders and know that this glass tank is not very valuable. It's made with stones. The auxiliary equipment is also produced by the Ministry of Works and is very simple. Can it be cheaper? What's not valuable? Minister Jiang, accounts are not calculated like this. Did the cost calculation only consider the price of the raw materials? Your knowledge of political economy isn't good enough, Li Longji said with a straight face. Jiang Tsen quickly replied, Yes, I will continue to learn when I go back. It's not expensive, only 120 strings of coins. It won't be enough to buy many meters. It won't even be enough to fit a house. Then, Your Majesty, can we buy it now? Li Longji smiled and waved his hand. Not now. You can only pay a part of the deposit. Those who want to buy it should hurry up. 50 strings of coins for each fish tank, and then the Ministry of Works will produce it. You can pick it up in 2 days. Yes, we can sign a contract first. If there are any accidents, the deposit you paid will be refunded to you. However, each person has to order at least 3 of them. At the same time, there will be an additional bonus event. When the time comes, we will give it to you along with the fish tank. That will be a big surprise. Zhong Zhong also echoed, but he couldn't bear it. Someone was fooled again. I saw that some people have been waiting for the next chapter, so I will more or less say hello after the next chapter. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1284. The officials that were called over by Li Longji did not know that this was a scam specifically targeted at them. The purpose was to make them take the initiative to formulate more perfect laws. Of course, in the end, it was even more impossible to cheat them of their money. Li Longji was originally on the list of scammers, but in the end, Zhang Zhong felt that it was not good to always bully the emperor, so he leaked the news. Thus, the leader of the scam changed. The officials signed a normal contract with the Independent Production and Sales Department under the Ministry of Works. There were only a few conditions. First, if there was a quality problem with the products, they would replace and repair them for free. Second, if they could not provide the products, they would directly return the deposit. Third, once the products were delivered, they would have to pay in full. Fourth, they would write that they had paid a deposit of 150 strings of coins. The content of the contract was very simple, and there were a few key points missing. However, the officials did not think too much about it. They did not even read the contents of the contract before they agreed. 2 days passed by quickly. As the leader, Li Longji once again gathered the officials in his free time and formed a team to go to the place where the fish tanks were sold. When they arrived, they found that there were many people waiting in the reception room. The walls of the reception room were filled with large paintings. When the officials saw the paintings, they were all confused. The people in the paintings were exactly them. There were sales staff explaining who the officials were, what kind of fish tank they liked, and why they liked it. The Minister of Revenue, Wang Bei, had an ugly expression. He felt that the matter of him being pointed at on the wall was a kind of use to him. He went to Zhang Zhong and asked, "Why is my painting on the wall?" "My painting is also on the wall," Zhang Zhong replied. Obviously, Zhang Zhong's answer did not satisfy Wang Bei. That was not what he was asking. Seeing that Zhang Zhong did not have the intention to continue speaking, he went to find Li Longji. Li Longji was greeting the people in the reception room. The people who could come to buy fish tanks were all quite wealthy. When they saw the emperor and the officials, they were very excited. However, they tried hard to restrain themselves and spoke to the emperor cautiously. They did not dare to show too much enthusiasm, for fear of being misunderstood. Therefore, it was very difficult for Li Longji to shake hands with him, so he could only nod his head repeatedly. "Your Majesty," Zhang Zhong hung this official's portrait on the wall and even used this official to promote his products. This official thinks that this shouldn't be the case. Wang Bei waited for Li Longji to finish speaking with a merchant before whispering into his ear. Li Longji seemed to have just realized that there was a portrait on the wall. He looked around and nodded at Wang Bei. "I saw that Yuan Qing's portrait is also here. It's not bad. If you want to keep a real picture, you can take a picture. I reckon I can give you a discount." Wang Bei was very distressed. "Your Majesty, I'm saying that they should take down my portrait and stop mentioning what kind of fish tank I bought. I'm not their salesperson." "Whose family is it?" "The Bureau of Works belongs to the Bureau of Works, and the Bureau of Works belongs to our great Tang. Don't speak nonsense." Li Longji was only targeting the latter part of Wang Bei's words. Yes, it belongs to our great Tang." Then, this official earnestly requests for your Majesty to step in and ask Zhang Zhong to take down the portrait. "Is that possible?" Wang Bei stopped complaining and directly made his request. "I'll ask for you. Don't be anxious." Li Longji smiled at the few people who bought the fish tanks and waved at Zhang Zhong. The other officials who didn't like to be surrounded by others also gathered around and waited for Zhang Zhong to give an explanation. Zhang Zhong jogged over to Li Longji and asked, "Your Majesty, does this official have any instructions?" Li Longji pointed at the portrait on the wall. "What's the matter?" "Oh, Your Majesty is asking about this? As for sales, with the fact that all the officials have bought them, the fish tanks can be sold for a high price and the sales will increase at the same time." "Your Majesty, I just went to ask. Yesterday and today, there were 425 people who directly paid for the portrait that was hung up the night before. Moreover, the same item is not sold at the previous price of 150 strings of coins, but the actual selling price is 200 strings of coins." Zhang Zhong excitedly reported to Li Longji. Not bad, not bad. The performance is gratifying. We need to increase the publicity and sell more good items to satisfy the daily needs of our great Tang citizens. Of course, don't forget to pay taxes. Fish tanks are considered luxury goods and the tax rate is very high. You must not evade taxes. Li Longji praised while at the same time emphasizing the issue of taxes. He turned his head and said to Wang Bei, "Wang Qing, I want to congratulate you. The revenue has increased again." Wang Bei had the urge to bang his head against the wall. He pointed at the wall and said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, they're using this official to earn money for the portrait." "I know, but the Ministry of Works earned money and paid taxes. Didn't they put you in the Ministry of Revenue? The money is in your hands, so what are you unhappy about?" Li Longji said to Wang Bei, "That money belongs to the Ministry of Revenue, not this official. They're using this official's identity to earn their money. Your Majesty, this official is a person, a living person, not the Ministry of Revenue." Wang Bei began to explain this matter. He felt that something was wrong. Logically speaking, it was impossible for His Majesty to not know what he was trying to say. "You want to resign?" "Resign?" Li Longji asked with widened eyes. Wang Bei hurriedly shook his head. He couldn't resign. The Minister of Revenue was a very high position, and he hadn't had enough of it yet. Gritting his teeth, he admitted, "This official won't say that I'll take it. This official wishes to receive some additional compensation. After all, I'm using this official's identity." "What's your identity?" "Your identity is an official of Great Tang. You're a person, a living person. You're not the Ministry of Revenue. You're using the identity of the Ministry of Revenue when introducing and promoting products. What does that have to do with you?" Li Longji argued with Wang Bei. Wang Bei lowered his head and thought about it. "That's right. They're recommending that the Minister of Revenue wants a fish tank. If I don't allow it, I'll have to resign from my position as the Minister of Revenue. That's because the Minister of Revenue doesn't belong to me, but to Great Tang." "But why does it feel like there's a problem? Is it me? Isn't it me? Can I represent myself? Can't I represent myself? If I don't allow my portrait to be hung and I only mention the Minister of Revenue, will His Majesty not allow me to be a minister? If I'm still a minister, shouldn't I continue to hang my portrait?" Wang Bei once again had the thought of banging his head against the wall. Yu Wenrong smiled. He patted Wang Bei's shoulder and gestured for him to move back. He walked over to Li Longji and said, "Your Majesty, this subject thinks that it's fine to hang my portrait as a promotion. But when this subject is on duty, I'm an official. After work, it's my own time. Can this subject remove my portrait during this period of time?" "In other words, Yu Wenrong, you're no longer an official of the Secretariat after work?" Li Longji asked. Yu Wenrong also shook his head. After pondering for a moment, he said, "It's not easy for this subject to take care of my face. Should this subject be given some material compensation when using this subject's face for promotion?" "This." Li Longji put on a contemplative expression and looked at Gao Lisher. Gao Lisher very cooperatively interjected, "Is it written in the contract? Is there such a law in our dynasty? Isn't that right, everyone?" In the end, he asked the people who came to buy the item. They were all watching and listening, finding it very interesting. The officials of the imperial court were actually arguing, and even the emperor was joining in the fun. This was a feeling he had never felt before. Yes, he had never felt like this before. It was very warm and made him feel like he was very close to the officials of the imperial court and the emperor. His Majesty was really open-minded. When the officials were questioning him, he could still patiently explain. It was worth it. He didn't come here for nothing. Even if the fish tank was more expensive, it wouldn't be a problem. General Gao is right. Is it written in the contract? Our dynasty doesn't have such a law, so we won't pay. Someone gathered his courage and spoke up. The others also said, we won't pay. Wang Bei glared at them. What are you guys talking about? Are you bullying me? I'll go to your houses to eat later and eat until you're poor." There was a burst of laughter around them. Some people had already begun to invite Wang Bei to their houses, saying that they would prepare something to eat that would definitely satisfy the Minister of Revenue. Wang Bei wasn't angry. He laughed and said to the people around him, "You've all been deceived. Didn't you hear what the Minister of Works, Zhang Zheng, said just now? The price used to be 150 strings of coins, but now it's 200 strings of coins. You guys spent an extra 25% of the money, and you're still laughing." If it was in the past, the scene in front of them would have been unimaginable. Now, it was revered to be close to the people. Lowering one's status to speak did not mean that one had lost one's power. On the contrary, one could gain the approval of others. "It's not expensive, it's not expensive. We actually didn't spend an extra 25% of the money. It's 33%. With His Majesty and the officials promoting it, we'll buy it even if it's more expensive." The person who was the most courageous spoke up again. Thus, there was another sound of agreement from the crowd. Li Longji was in a good mood. He liked to see the current situation. According to Xiao Bao, it could increase one's charisma. Occasionally interacting with the people could make one's image bigger. At the same time, he really made money. Although it was used to deceive people, he could still gain additional benefits when he deceived the officials. He believed that from today onwards, the Ministry of Works luxury goods would sell even better. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth it for him, the emperor, to run out and waste time with a group of officials. Xiao Bao was thoughtful. He used everything he could to gain other benefits. His strategy was indeed unusual. At this moment, Yu Wenrong didn't think about any compensation. He also didn't think about taking down his portrait. If he brought it up again, it would make the people around him feel bored. There was no need to be so calculative. Thus, Yu Wenrong gave up on his previous thoughts. He said to Zhang Zheng, "Brother Yongqing, it's fine if you die. Can you hand over the fish tanks to us?" Zhang Zheng nodded and signaled to the salesperson. Immediately, someone brought out the fish tanks from the warehouse. They brought one out and directly sold it in the reception room. The first one was Yu Wenrong's. The empty fish tank was placed there. There were also a few glass jars filled with fish. They were a type of mutated goldfish with slightly darker bodies. Yu Wenrong chose them himself. He liked this color. Seeing that the things were brought out, Yu Wenrong walked closer to take a closer look. He said, "We need to cultivate more ornamental fish species to meet the increasing demand of the people. Can I find someone to bring them home?" "What about the other things?" "Brother Yu Wenrong, did you bring the money?" "Just make up the balance." Zhang Zheng asked Yu Wenrong. Chapter 1285. Yu Wenrong was stunned. He touched his body with both hands and shook his head helplessly. "I can't possibly carry so much money with me, right?" Wang Bei added, "That's right. Who would carry a few hundred strings of cash with them? Do you think they're your little ones? You put so much money in your bag, as if you're afraid you don't have enough money to buy things." "Then what should we do?" Zhang Zheng looked troubled. "Go back and get someone to deliver it to you." "Can we still go back on our word?" Wang Bei felt that Zhang Zheng was very disgusting. What was his status? Would he not give money? Zhang Zheng shook his head. "No, you can't break the rules. How about, you give me a written agreement first, and I'll lend you some money." "I brought money. Look." As he spoke, Zhang Zheng took out a handful of bills. They were all large denominations. "Okay, Lord Zhang, I finally know you today. You're ready, right? Come, I'll give you a written agreement." Wang Bei squeezed the words out of his mouth. He took the pen and paper from the person beside him and was about to write when he was stopped by Zhang Zheng. "Wait, my money needs to flow. If I lend it out, there needs to be interest. Otherwise, wouldn't it be better if I kept it in the bank? 20% interest, according to the day, okay?" "Okay, 5% is fine." "All right." Wang Bei was about to write again when he was stopped by Zhang Zhong again. Don't write too little. One set is 200 strings of cash. You took out 150 strings of cash before, which was the deposit for 3 sets. I gave you a 20% discount, so it's 480 strings of cash. You have to write 330 strings of cash. Otherwise, you won't have enough money. This time, Wang Bei stopped writing and stared at Zhang Zhong. The others were also angry. How could they raise the price at this time? It wasn't that they were short of money. The benefits that the Zhang family and Wang family gave them were far more than this amount. Moreover, many precious things couldn't be measured by money. They felt that they had been cheated. Why did the original amount change? Minister of War Xiao Song came to Zhang Zhong and snorted. In the beginning, it was 150 strings of cash. Why did you raise the price today? We paid for it. When the price of the goods changes, the money you paid is still the deposit. That's right. Zhang Zhong opened his eyes wide and said innocently. Jiang Tsun joined in the fun. We have a contract. It's written in black and white. How can we change it just like that? We have to follow the contract. Contract? I have one too. Zhang Zhong took out the contract and gestured for everyone to gather around. He pointed to the words on it and said, First, if there is a quality problem with the ordered product, we will replace and repair it for free. Second, if we can't provide the product, we will return all the deposits. Third, once the product is delivered, we must pay in full. Fourth, write down that we have paid a deposit of 150 strings of coins. Do you see that? The order in the first clause means that it hasn't been completely confirmed yet. That is to say, when the actual selling price of the product changes, it has to change accordingly, right? I'm not buying any more. Refund the money, Wang Ku said in a huff. Zhang Zhong shook his head. We can't refund it. Look at the last clause. It says that we have paid a deposit of 150 strings of coins. It doesn't say that the price of 3 sets of fish tanks is 150 strings of coins. It only says the total amount and uses the word confirmed. The money you paid has already been confirmed, so we can't refund it. You're being shameless. How can you write a contract like that? It's clearly a scam. Zhang Zhong, you have a big family business. Do you have to play such a small trick with us? Wang Ke criticized Zhang Zhong, and the officials echoed him. The others in the reception hall were dumbfounded. They watched the officials argue over money and gained a lot of insight. Li Longji said, Don't argue. Pay attention to your image. There's nothing wrong with the contract. Follow the contract. If you paid for the fish tank, take it back. If you don't, just pretend that you didn't buy it. The money won't be refunded. If you don't believe me, ask the others and see if that's the case. As Li Longji spoke, he looked at the people around him. Everyone nodded. Logically speaking, it should be like that. It was written clearly in the contract. At this time, Gao Lishe appeared. He looked at the contract and then looked at the crowd. He sighed and said, This shows that the laws of our dynasty are not complete. It seems that we are following the contract, but in fact, everyone knows the real situation. Today, we, as officials, have encountered this situation. We have to bear with it. Unless we use official status and power that we shouldn't use, we have to follow the contract. Is that right? As soon as Gao Lishe said this, the reception hall fell silent. Everyone was thinking. After a while, Yu Wenrong said, That's right. If it were the people, according to the current situation, there would be endless disputes. Even the local Yamen officials wouldn't be able to sort them out. The law doesn't mention this. Therefore, we shouldn't be thinking about how much the fish tank is worth. Instead, we should be thinking about how to improve the laws of our dynasty. From the looks of the contract, it is clearly disadvantageous to us, the buyer, while providing enormous benefits to the seller. It is simply unfair to the buyer and seller. This kind of contract should have a supplementary law to correct it. When a situation occurs where one of the parties is benefiting from the contract and the true transaction between the two parties when the contract was signed, then the contract should be nullified, and the party who violated the true intent of the transaction should be punished. Otherwise, my great Tang will be thrown into chaos. Everyone thought about it again. Thinking about it, it really was the case. Originally, when the two sides made a deal, the goal was to achieve their own benefits. This was the intention set by the two sides when the contract was signed. The purpose of the contract was to achieve, complete, and satisfy this intention. But later on, if one side found out that the contract had violated the true intent of the signing and used the contract to obtain additional benefits, then everyone would play with the contract. Most importantly, the contract also needed to be protected by the law. Many contents were written, but they might not be recognized and supported by the law of the Great Tang. The Minister of Rights, Su Yi, stepped forward. Your Majesty, this subject understands. When we return, this subject will immediately gather people to improve the laws of our dynasty and patch up any loopholes that may appear. But Your Majesty also knows that no matter how we patch it up, there will always be people who will find loopholes. For example, Xiao Bao. Everyone nodded. It was true. There were only thieves for 1,000 days, but there were no thieves for 1,000 days. The attacker would always have an easier time than the defender, and the defender would always lose. This was especially true for someone like Xiao Bao. As long as he was willing, he could exploit one loophole after another. It was impossible to guard against. Really change it? Why didn't you mention it in the past? Li Longji asked with a serious expression. The officials lowered their heads. Why didn't they mention it in the past? Wasn't it because they wanted to obtain more benefits for their families? Moreover, with their high statuses, they didn't have to worry about being cheated. Only after love do you know the depth of your knowledge. Only after getting drunk do you know how strong the wine is. Zhang Zhong said. This was a line that his future daughter-in-law had said in a poem that she had copied from someone else. Furthermore, we can give an example. For example, when buying a house, because the location is good, we will first sell it and then have the buyer pay a deposit. Merchants who lack funds will use this deposit or the full amount to buy the materials for construction. Once the construction is done, we will suddenly raise the price, just like when we bought the fish tank today. Even if you spend a lot of effort to get the money back, you will lose the interest that you saved in the bank. What will make you even angrier is that you didn't manage to buy the house. You put in a lot of effort, but in the end, you didn't get anything. A narrow-minded person will only anger themselves to death. Thus, we will not allow such a thing to happen. Li Longji added. He had also heard Zhang Xiaobao's example. Because the price of the house was high, it was the best explanation of the problem. Yuan Qianyao cupped his fists at Zhang Zhong. Brother Yongqing, we have learned from you. Today's situation was probably set up by Her Majesty and you. We usually have good benefits, and we don't lack money. However, when the price of the fish tank changed, we were very angry. We don't care about the amount of money, but we can't stand being cheated. If we are like this, what about others? I will write an IOU to borrow money and buy 160 strings of coins for a set. I will buy 3 sets. I will put 1 set in my office, another set at home, and another set for those who need to be warned. Every time I see the ornamental fish swimming in the fish tank, I will encourage myself. I will also borrow money. Yu Wenrong added. Borrow. Sign it. The officials went to write the IOU one by one. Li Longji looked and smiled. We are relieved. With all of you here, the Tang Empire has nothing to worry about. Okay, I will give each of you a fish worth 10 strings of coins. One of the non-officials shouted. The others immediately followed. One wanted to give some water plants, another wanted to give a few stones. They all opened their bags. They felt that today was too blissful. They actually saw so many things, and the scene in front of them made them feel even more comfortable. The emperor and officials of the imperial court were sincerely serving the people. They weren't high and mighty and didn't care about anything. The officials at the top were good, and they weren't afraid that the officials at the bottom would go against them. They believed that if there were any officials who dared to make false judgments, the people at the top would teach the officials at the bottom a lesson. Zhang Zhong didn't expect that he would be able to earn additional interest. For a moment, he felt quite embarrassed. He smiled at every colleague who came to write the IOU and said that there would be other returns. After all, there was still a gift. It seemed that he had to reconsider what to give. Not long after, the money was paid. The fish tanks were carried away one by one. There were also other items that were sent away. Li Longji said a few words to the others and left with the officials. Behind him, there were shouts of "Long live," which attracted the attention of the passers-by. After asking around, they found out about what happened at the fish tank store. In just a few days, this matter spread throughout the entire Tang Empire. In an instant, the sound of firecrackers could be heard, and the local officials were under great pressure. Chapter 1286. Li Longji had asked Xiao Bei and the others to come to Yizhou on the pretext that they missed him. They were currently standing in front of a house in a relatively poor area of the city. They were asked to support the situation. The children of several neighboring families in this area wanted to negotiate with their parents, but they realized that they did not have the means to negotiate with their parents. Thus, they came to the restaurant and asked Xiao Bei to help. At least, they had to maintain fairness. Otherwise, what if they were beaten by their parents while they were negotiating? At that time, not only would they not achieve their goal, but they would also suffer losses. Wouldn't that be even worse? Thus, Xiao Bei and the others came, including the little boy who had been playing Monopoly with them at home for many days. He was a little confused from all the playing. There were a total of 5 children looking for Xiao Bei. All of them had the surname Chen, and they lived in the same neighborhood. They had moved from the same village and settled down here. They had a very good relationship with each other, and the neighborhood was harmonious. The children in their families were naturally influenced by their adults. They usually stayed together at school and after school, even when they were playing. After playing for a long time, they would eat and stay at a certain house. Even if it was only a few steps away from home, they would still stay. The 5 children were all boys. The oldest was 10 years old, and the youngest was 8.5 years old. They could be considered to be around the same age. They were in trouble, and it was a very big trouble for them. Their money had been taken away by their parents, who said that they would save it for when they grew up and married. However, they wanted to use the money now. They needed to do their own things, and not deposit it in the bank. The 5 children were very good at their studies and could get scholarships every semester. They had their own accounts in the bank, where their scholarships were stored. However, their deposit certificates were now taken away by their parents, and they were not allowed to withdraw them. Even so, they were not discouraged. They used their free time to buy snacks, and then sold some of them at school. Then, they ran to the market and set up a small stall with the gadgets they made, which they used to exchange for money. At this time, Xiao Bei was holding a toothpick box they made. It was a box at the bottom with a little bird on top. When he pressed the bird's head with his hand, the little bird would take out a toothpick from the box. This thing did not require much skill, and Xiao Bei also had one at home. However, it was not a bird, but a button. Every time he pressed it, a toothpick would come out. It was just that he did not take it out to sell. The 5 boys thought of and designed and made it themselves. In addition to this thing, there was also a thing in Xiao Bei's hand that could be rotated to brush the jar. As long as he put the brush into the jar, the hair on it would start to rotate, and then brush the parts of the jar that were inconvenient to use. These 2 things were part of their stalls, and there were also several other tools that were convenient for use in daily life. They were simple to make, but they were very practical. They sold these things for money and used the money to buy other things. They were now making a model plane. In fact, it was not a plane, but a bird. Because there were now people selling rubber bands, they wanted to use this kind of rubber band to accumulate strength. In the past, they could only use animal tendons, and the effect was very poor. Now, they felt that the new monkey rubber band could let the birds fly. However, due to the shape of the bird, they did not succeed after a few attempts. They still needed to improve it further and buy more advanced measuring tools. After searching, they found a shop in the city called the Magical Toy Shop. There were several measuring tools that could be sold. They were better than the ones they used in class, and they were more accurate. They were made of steel. Then, they found a small battery-powered motor, but this thing was not for sale. They could only continue to use rubber bands to make their birds. Tools required money. Every time they tested a broken rubber band, they needed money. Their money was taken away by the adults, and they did not even leave the money for selling the items. When they could not think of any other way, they chose to find Xiao Bei and have a righteous negotiation with their families. Xiao Bei and the 10 of them arrived just like that. Furthermore, Xiao Bei also understood what was going on. Although the children were young, they liked to invent and create. The adults probably felt that they were spending money recklessly, so they controlled their funds. "You're not back yet? It's wrong for you to skip class," Xiao Bei said to a boy beside him. This boy was called Chen Ming, a very common name. He was the only one accompanying Xiao Bei and the others. The other 4 boys ran to find their parents. Their parents also had to work and were not at home during the day. Anyway, they ate at school and did not need the adults to take care of them. This saved their parents a lot of trouble. Chen Ming also had an anxious expression. He looked at the end of the road and shook his head. "Not yet. I think we have to wait. We have to work at the dock and another workshop that takes half an hour to walk. Xiao Bei, when my parents come back, you have to help us. Look, we are making our own things and spending our own money. It doesn't affect our studies. Why don't they let us do it? Why do they want me to read? Didn't I read it? After reading it, I wanted to make something small. In the future, I will make something bigger and more technical to repay the great Tang Empire. They won't let me read. They won't allow me to use the knowledge in the books. What's the purpose of reading? It's not like it's a storybook." Xiao Bei nodded. She also felt that the parents of the 5 boys were too much. Not only did their studies not affect them, they could also make money and do research. What reason did they have to stop them? Moreover, she looked at the gadget in her hand. Although it was small, she put a lot of thought into it. She should encourage it, not restrain it. Why didn't the bird fly? Xiao Bei had not seen the real thing and did not know what the bird looked like. She felt that maybe she could help the 5 of them with some ideas. "I'll go get it for you. It's in Brother Xiao Tao's house." Chen Ming left this sentence and ran to a nearby house. The door was unlocked and one could enter by opening it. After a while, Chen Ming came back with a face full of tears. He held a small bag in his hand and handed it to Xiao Bei, sobbing, "It's broken. The bird we worked so hard to make was trampled by the adults. How could they do this when we weren't home? It's broken. The rubber band is also broken. We can't find the tool ruler, small carving knife, and pliers." Xiao Bei put down the 2 things in her hand and took the bag. Of course, the bamboo bird was trampled. There were even shoe prints on it. In an instant, Xiao Bei's heart was filled with anger. Too much, too much. How could there be adults like this? They treat their own children without the slightest scruple. Xiao Yuan came over to take a look and showed a sad expression. He said indignantly, "The adults in their house never considered the children's thoughts. They used their absolute authority as parents to stifle the children's independent thoughts. They think they are always right. If that was the case, then they shouldn't live in this place. They should live in a spacious and luxurious courtyard. Since they didn't go there, it shows that they are far inferior to those people in this society. Then what right do they have to decide the children's future?" "Exactly," Xiao Bei huffed. "They think that if the children listen to them, they will have a bright future. But they have no bright future, so what right do they have to believe that if they listen to them, the children will have a bright future?" Xiao Hai added, "Brother and sister are the best. They never told us what to do, only told us what to do and what to do. They let us choose for ourselves. No matter what we choose, brother and sister will support us. They will help us adjust where we went wrong and analyze why we went wrong. I know that we made many mistakes, but we never made the same mistake. Moreover, brother and sister will help us solve the problems left behind by our mistakes. This is true care, not like Chen Ming and the others, who won't allow us to do this or that. Everyone's path is different, so why do we have to choose? I don't understand. Actually, my parents are very good. When they couldn't eat meat, they would leave it for me. They even made new clothes for me. They didn't wear them themselves. But now they are not afraid. Life is good. If you want to eat meat, you can buy some every day. I have to thank your brother and sister. Chen Ming suddenly spoke up for his parents. When he talked about the good life, his rosy, tear-stained face revealed a smile. Don't mention it, it's what we should do. After all, we are all working hard for the Tang Dynasty. Xiao Bei was modest. Xiao Yuan comforted Chen Ming, telling him not to worry and that things would go smoothly. While they were talking, Chen Ming's father returned with 2 other people. From the looks of it, they were working in the same place. When they saw Xiao Bei's group, the 3 adults were very cautious. It wasn't that Xiao Bei's group wasn't cute, but that their son told them what they had to face on the way back. Now that Xiao Bei came to them, and it was about the children, it was hard to deal with. After a while, the other 2 men also arrived. The woman didn't come, presumably because the men in the family had the final say. Who stepped on the bird? Xiao Bei's face didn't have a trace of kindness, asking with drooping eyelids. I am Chen Tao's father. I am Chen Kaming. A man said carefully. Pei. Xiao Bei spat, not caring about his image. Chen Kaming, you came up with this name. How are you open-minded? When your big foot landed on the little bird, did you become enlightened? Why don't you let them work? Chen Tao's father, Chen Kaming, was very nervous. He was afraid that Xiao Bei would get angry and take him away. What would happen if he was no longer in the family? When he heard Xiao Bei's question, he immediately answered, I actually want my son to have a bright future. Xiao Bei, look at what they are doing, they are clearly craftsmen. How can craftsmen have a bright future? They should study hard and become the top scorer in the future. That's the heart of all parents. Don't talk about parents. My father is from the Ministry of Works, a craftsman. I don't think my father is bad, I am proud of him. Xiao Bei didn't wait for him to finish and interrupted him. The 5 men were speechless. Your father is from the Ministry of Works, but your father is also the top scorer. Chapter 1287. The 5 men didn't refute Xiao Bei's claim that the Ministry of Works was equivalent to craftsmen, because it was meaningless. What they needed to do now was to discuss with Xiao Bei and achieve their goals without making him angry. They exchanged glances, and Chen Kaming was the one who spoke. Xiao Bei, I realize that you've become cuter. How did you change? Really? I think so too. Xiao Bei revealed a big smile and blinked his eyes, looking very satisfied. Really, it's definitely true. Chen Kaming smiled. Xiao Bei seemed to be embarrassed and said, Do you want to know how I became cuter? Yes. I think I'm not the only one. Everyone in the world is wondering how you changed? Chen Kaming asked. It's very simple. I'm doing what I like at home. My brothers and sisters didn't force me to only read textbooks. Instead, they let me freely learn the knowledge I need. If you follow them, your child will also become very cute, right? Xiao Bei still had that smile on his face. Chen Kaming was speechless. I'm asking you, is my brother and sister's method right or wrong? Xiao Bei asked. Ha. Chen Kaming's son, Chen Tao, laughed at Xiao Bei's words. Chen Kaming turned his head and glared fiercely at his son, scaring Chen Tao so much that he scampered over to Xiao Bei and the others. He looked at his father with a sly look in his eyes. It was obvious that he had taken advantage of his father. Chen Kaming nodded. Yes, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo wouldn't do anything wrong. Then, he looked at Xiao Bei, then glanced at Xiao Yuan and the others. He sighed and revealed a helpless expression. He said to Xiao Bei, "Xiao Bao and Wan taught you guys really well. But we're not Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. We don't have the ability to teach our children to be like you, not even half of them. We can only throw our children to the school. Whenever we had time, we would also go to the night school to learn. The day before yesterday, I had learned a total of 230 common words. I could recognize them, but I couldn't write many of them. My favorite thing to do was to go home and watch Xiao Tao read and write. At that time, all the tiredness of the day seemed to disappear and my heart was sweeter than eating honey. I'll be like this for the rest of my life. I won't be able to achieve anything great. But I have Xiao Tao. Xiao Tao's handwriting is better than mine, and he knows more words than me. I am very happy." Recently, when he came back at night, he didn't read all the time. He would take a few glances at the book and write in his notebook for a while. Then, he would immediately take out his tools and do what only a craftsman could do. The moment I saw her, I felt as if my heart was being stabbed by a knife. I don't have much knowledge, but I know that those without knowledge will be left behind by others. If I don't learn, what will I do in the future? As Chen Kaiming spoke, tears flowed down his cheeks. Chen Tao, who was happy just now, saw his father cry. When he thought about his father's words, he also cried. He ran to his father's side and lowered his head to comfort him. "Dad, don't be sad. I've always been good at my studies, and I'll be good in the future." Xiao Bei's eyes turned and asked Chen Tao on behalf of Chen Kaiming, "Then why don't you study properly? If you stop after taking a few glances, won't you be unable to connect the dots when you read again?" The other men, whose eyes were also red, nodded. When Chen Tao answered, they realized that their children were the same as Chen Tao. Chen Tao raised his sleeves and rubbed his eyes. He replied to Xiao Bei, "I've already learned what the school teaches. I'm not reading textbooks, but the handmade books in the school library. Of course, I have to read and write at the same time. The reason why I write and draw is because I need to calculate the proportions of the bird's structure. Not only did I finish learning the 3rd grade, I also learned the 5th grade, especially arithmetic. The main reason is that I can't calculate proportions in the 3rd grade. I heard that when I go to school, the calculation will be faster, and I'll be able to calculate things that I can't calculate now. But I want to make something first. I'll learn as I work, so that the skills I learn will be more solid. My parents think that I'm only reading the 3rd grade books. They haven't asked me, so how would I know what they're thinking? Anyway, I'm not wrong." When he said that, the 5 adults were stunned. They looked at their children, who were all puffing out their chests. They were clearly saying that they were also skipping grades to study, but the grades they were skipping were different. Similarly, they were all working hard for that little bird. "Did you hear that?" My enlightened uncle, not only did the little bird not delay their studies, it even encouraged them to study harder. The work of a craftsman also requires a large amount of knowledge to support it. If they want the little bird to fly better, they have to fly higher in the sky of knowledge. Xiao Bei looked at the 5 boys with appreciation and said to Chen Kaiming with a faint smile. Xiao Yuan quickly cooperated and said, "Yes, yes. The little bird needs a pair of wings to fly. Dreams also need a pair of wings." Xiao Hai rarely spoke. Actually, everything is about communication and interaction. We don't expect you to treat us like our older brothers and sisters, observing our emotional changes all the time. When you notice that something is a little different from usual, you will ask the inner court members who follow us what happened to us, and then use silent methods to help us. We only need you to ask your children more often, see what they want to do, and where you can help them. For example, to make a little bird, you have to use bamboo. Children don't have much strength in their hands. If you help them with simple carpentry, won't they be able to save time and use it to study? There was no need to make it seem like a war, where one side would overwhelm the other, or both sides would suffer great losses. If they develop a rebellious mentality and resist by not studying hard, then you will regret it for life. Isn't that so? We're here today. If we didn't come, you adults would control Xiao Ming and the rest through the authority of the parents. They would play a non-violent and non-cooperative game with you, and both sides would suffer. Xiao Bei also said. She felt very bored and sullen because she knew that many parents in the Tang dynasty were like this. They always thought that they were right, that their children were young and didn't need to be communicated with. As long as they provided food and clothes, there would be no problem with their studies. But how many students and teachers were there in the school? Could the teachers manage them all? Look at the officials in the imperial court in the capital. How many of them didn't care about their families and studied in the school to become officials? Those were all children from aristocratic families and were specially cared for. They would follow their fathers from a young age, learn how to write and read, listen to their fathers talk about life principles, and imitate their fathers' way of doing things. The officials in the imperial court fought their way up, and their need for survival knowledge far surpassed the knowledge in books. There were also special ones, such as older brothers and sisters, who schemed from a young age to lead their families to the peak of power in the Tang dynasty. But how many people in the Tang dynasty were like older brothers and sisters? Troublesome, really troublesome. The more Xiao Bei thought about it, the more upset she felt. She hated that she couldn't split into countless people and then replace all the parents in the Tang dynasty to educate their children. She wanted to use the method used on Pan and her sister to educate all the children in the Tang dynasty. Xiao Yuan shook her head and said to Chen Kaiming and the rest, "That's it for today. Now that the matter is clear, help the children more in the future. After we leave, you are not allowed to hit the children. If you hit them, it's revenge. It's not just the children, it's also revenge on us. We will think that you feel that we shouldn't reach out and vent your dissatisfaction with us by hitting the children. That is a provocation to us. Don't say that I'm threatening you. You know the consequences. I won't hit them, and I won't hit them in the future. Where can I find such a good son?" Chen Kaiming promised, then raised his head and patted his son Xiao Tao's head. At this moment, his heart was filled with infinite joy. It turned out that his son was so amazing. He finished learning all the 5th grade so that he could make better calculations when he was a little bird. Little birds were really useful. After being happy for a while, Chen Kaiming asked Xiao Bei, I want to discuss something with you. Can you teach us the method that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo taught you? Haha. Xiao Bei laughed and shook her head. We can't learn it. A few days ago, we were worried about selling dogs. Big Brother heard about it and immediately sent 3 different grades of rice crust to guide us. Big Brother and Big Sister have never directly told us what is right or wrong. They always use other methods to let us think for ourselves and make a choice. How do you learn it? For example, when we go to the river to catch fish, if the child I lead accidentally pricks his foot and your child takes the lead, what would you do? Would you tell your child not to bring other children to the river in the future? Chen Kaiming nodded. That's right. If his child led other children to play and the other children got injured, he would definitely tell his child not to do so in the future. Seeing you nod, it means that you admit it. But if it were our big brothers and sisters, they would take out toys to play with us after they found out about it. While playing, they would also teach us how to lead our own team through the actions and behavior of the characters in the toys. For example, when we are playing, we can't put all our energy into making ourselves happy. We also have to take care of other people. For example, we can observe the places where we are playing and analyze the possible dangers first to reduce our overall losses. This is the teaching method of our big brothers and sisters. They teach us to face all kinds of difficulties in life and think of ways to solve them. What about you? You are escaping. How do you learn it? Later, I will ask my big brothers and sisters to see if there is any good way to make you worry as much as possible because it doesn't involve your 5 families. Xiao Bei didn't hide his pride at all when he spoke. Chen Kaiming and the other 5 adults were dumbfounded. So this was how Xiao Bao and Cuckoo taught their younger siblings. Then how much effort did they put in? No wonder the little guys were so good. Perhaps for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they didn't need to spend too much effort to achieve that kind of teaching method. But they couldn't learn it because if they wanted to teach their children well, they first had to ensure that they were better. Chen Kaiming gave up on learning Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's teaching method. He rubbed his hands, looked at his son, and asked, Let me ask you, other than helping my son do simple carpentry, what else do I need to do to be considered a qualified adult? Xiao Yuan waved at Chen Kaiming. When Chen Kaiming came closer, Xiao Yuan gestured for him to bend down and then whispered in his ear, "When you ask this in front of your child, you are not qualified." Then Xiao Yuan explained to Chen Kaiming, "Every child worships their father. You have to remember that no matter what situation you encounter, you have to maintain a strong front. Even if this so-called strong front looks ridiculous to you, it is the source of your child's confidence. Even if you fight with someone outside and get beaten black and blue, when you return home, you have to talk about how you beat them up. You can't sigh in front of your child because your child needs you to be strong. What if one day my child finds out and helps me clean my wounds? What should I do?" Chen Kaiming didn't treat Xiao Yuan as a child at all and humbly asked for advice. "That means your child has grown up and should be congratulated. He will work harder and is willing to take on part of the family's responsibilities. For example, we know that although our family is strong, there are also many difficulties. We will learn well and try our best to help our big brothers and sisters solve some small problems so that they can relax," Xiao Yuan said to Chen Kaiming with a smile. Chen Kaiming rubbed Xiao Yuan's head. "You are so sensible. If my son is like you one day, I will be relieved. What else should I do now?" "First, help the 5 of them fix the little bird. If you have free time, go to the school without them knowing and tell the school teacher about this. Make an agreement with the teacher to not tell the children. Then, specially target your children with some tutoring so that they can fix the little bird faster. The second step is to come up with a new idea to let the children feel that a little bird isn't very powerful. Guide them, or rather tempt them, so that they have higher goals and can continue to learn more knowledge." Xiao Yuan helped to come up with ideas. This method was very simple to him. However, Chen Kaiming gritted his teeth as he listened. Seeing Xiao Yuan, a child who was supposed to be educated, actually educating others, he felt that it was very strange. After thinking for a while, he nodded to Xiao Yuan. "Okay, I will listen to you. I will try. It's okay if I am a little tired, as long as I can teach Xiao Tao well. I finally know why Xiao Bao and Cuckoo teach you like that. You are really too smart. If we teach you directly, you will feel that your big brothers and sisters are looking down on you. And even if they teach you in a roundabout way, when you learn, you also have to consider whether your big brothers and sisters are using this method to educate you, right?" Xiao Yuan nodded vigorously as if he had met a confidant. "Yes, that's right. You also studied psychology? We have indeed been on guard all along. We know that our big brothers and sisters are very powerful, but we are not bad ourselves, so we always want to expose our big brothers and sisters, but the results are not satisfactory. You also know their ability to calculate. To us, it is impossible to guard against them. Every time, we can only react after. We really can't maintain a high level of vigilance in every little bit of life. However, our big brothers and sisters educate us in life, like a heavenly steed soaring across the sky, but also like antelopes hanging their horns." Ha 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 ha. Chen Kaiming looked at Xiao Yuan's wrinkled little face and listened to what he said, laughing heartily. Okay, what is there to laugh about? Do we have any unhappy things to tell you so that you can be happy? Go control your son. Xiao Yuan was very helpless from the laughter and pushed Chen Kaiming's head away. The matter here was settled. There was no need to continue to worry about the 5 boys being punished by their families. Xiao Bei and the others were not very happy. It was easy to settle one family, and it was not difficult to settle 5 families. However, there were many families in Tang Dynasty like them. The relationship between parents and children was not well handled. How to change it was a difficult problem. "Let's go back and ask our big brothers and sisters if they have any ideas," Xiao Bei said. "We can't ask directly. It seems that we are not good enough. We have to go in a roundabout way and trap our big brothers and sisters. I don't believe that we can't out-scheme them every time, right?" Xiao Yuan suggested. The other children nodded. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were about to be schemed against by their younger brother and sister, had just heard the report from the person who followed Xiao Bei and the others and came back early. However, the 2 of them did not specifically spend time on such matters. One was that it was too simple, and the other was that Junla had sent back information that involved the issue of whether to start a war. The information is too simple. I need the details. Let's wait. Zhang Xiaobao saw the telegram that was sent back first. On it, there were only 4 words: Operation Successful. The specific process was not written, nor were the consequences. Even the location of the sender was not mentioned. The 4 words on the paper could only mean that the Meteor Battle Squad had captured them. Judging by the time, if nothing big happened, the Meteor Squad should have captured him in the other party's royal city. Otherwise, they would have captured him somewhere outside the city. What we need to know now is the other party's reaction. Wang Wan was also looking at the 4 words. After thinking for a while, she continued, I don't think it will cause a war. Let's make arrangements first and let the team enter a state of combat readiness. If they send back detailed information saying that the Junla soldiers are on the move, we'll go directly and attack them first. If they don't do anything, we'll continue to lead the team to the west and act as a surprise force to help the other 3 fronts. At the same time, we'll collect information on the weather and environment of this era to prepare for the future colonization. Zhang Xiaobao listened carefully. When Wang Wan finished, he said, I guess there's no problem. The Meteor Battle Squad must have sent us a message after they have settled down. Otherwise, they would be in the middle of a battle. If they won the battle, the message they sent back should be, Operation Successful. It would not be the 4 words now. It's the Junla's luck that they didn't attack us. Lu Zhou has built 4 more ships that can be used to transport troops. If they dare to attack us or protest, I'll send out the troops. Let us see the power of my guards and Lu Zhou's wolf soldiers. Wang Wan said with a cold face and a determined look in her eyes. Zhang Xiaobao bit his lip and said, even if they don't send out the troops, I'll still teach them a lesson. This matter isn't over yet. How dare they come to Great Tang to bully our women? They shouldn't think that they'll be forgiven by us just because they didn't stop the Meteor Battle Squad. They should be punished for their mistakes. Every time I think about those 2 women, I get so angry that my stomach hurts. My stomach hurts. I'm going to cook. After Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, he stood up and walked out. Wang Wan followed him and asked, It's still early, right? It's not early. What the little ones encountered today made them angry as well. They're still trying to beat around the bush with us. I'll let them know that the gap between us exists, and it won't be easily reversed. It's just a matter of family education. I'll cook. I'll make twice cooked pork. Zhang Xiaobao winked at Wang Wan and said. Chapter 1288. In the evening, the detailed contents of the telegram finally arrived. After receiving the order, the Meteor Squad organized an elite tracking team and entered Junla's territory. The logistics team followed, mobilizing a total of 1,600 people. Along the way, the envoys stopped at a total of 5 tribes. 3 of them were exterminated, and a total of 461 people were killed. Not only did these people not give any useful information, they even tried to use force to stop the envoys, and even poisoned them. According to Wang Wan's order, anyone who tried to stop them was to be killed. Thus, the heads of the 461 people had been cut off, marinated, and hidden. When the envoy was brought back, they would either be brought back together or be brought back by the second echelon, but they had not yet returned. The remaining 2 tribes were very easy to talk to. Not only did they point out the way for the Meteor Squad, they also provided some vegetables. The Meteor Squad used the meat they had hunted to trade with the 2 tribes. At the same time, the 2 tribes were briefed on the current situation in the Great Tang, and they were welcome to settle down at the border. The original tribes there had already dispersed. This way, the 2 tribes could first interact with each other, and then they could deepen their relationship. After that, they went straight to the royal capital and forcibly brought back the envoy who had bullied the women of their own country. They were not stopped by any force, and after Junla's king Bafawarman sent someone to inquire about the matter, he no longer cared. Of course, he did not send his own soldiers to help capture the envoy. At the same time, He had his people seal off the news so that it would not spread among the common people. He was probably worried that it would affect the morale of the people. The Meteor Squad was currently escorting the envoy back as quickly as possible. On the way back, they found a place with a signal and sent the news to a relay station, all the way to Ezhou. After reading the contents of the telegram, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan exchanged a smile. It seems that Baffa Warman is rather tactful. I thought that when we went to his royal capital to capture the envoy who had just returned, he would at least say a few words, protest, or even send soldiers to protect the envoy. I didn't think that he would just let it go. Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan with a smile. Wang Wan picked up the paper, crumpled it into a ball, and threw it into the waste paper basket. She gently shook her head and said, "Maybe he wants to paralyze us first, and then organize the army to fight. We have to give him some pressure first. Their ordinary tribes are quite united. They dare to block our people and poison us. Unfortunately, they are destined to have a bad ending." That's right, they really can kill. More than 400 people died, and perhaps all the youths of the 3 tribes were killed. Why do they have to come to our great Tang to bully 2 weak girls? Let's see how many lives they have to pay for it. Zhang Xiaobao also shook his head. It was true that many people had died, but he had no regrets, nor did he feel any guilt. Killing was not the goal, but the means. After killing this one, once the news spread, the great Tang would be at peace with its neighbors. The king of Zhanla didn't want the news to spread, but he could help the other parties spread the news everywhere. He could also write about it in the newspapers and let the people of the Great Tang see it and feel the power of their country. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan discussed again. In order to continue to put pressure on Zhenla and make them as obedient and stable as before, the two decided to set off 3 days later. They would travel slowly downstream. They would go to Jianqi Lake to enjoy the scenery, then turn west and cross the Lansong River. They would continue to head west and enter the territory of India, or Piao country, which was also Myanmar. They had to move slowly so that the intelligence personnel from other countries who were stationed in Yi province would have more time to return. If they were too stupid and couldn't return faster than they could, they would have to think of other ways to let their intelligence personnel from other countries get the news. Going down from Yi province would give people the feeling that they were going straight to Zhenla. When the king of Zhanla found out, they would see if he would send a letter of apology. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's purpose wasn't to fight, but to understand the situation of the various specialties along the way. For example, jade, these things had to be developed properly. There were also gold mines and so on. In addition, they wanted to make more detailed maps to see where they could build roads. In the future, they would occupy those areas. They couldn't be like now, where they would risk their lives to enter the forest from the mountains. After making one round, they could return in winter. They would continue to choose a place and then go there to build. 3 days passed quickly. Xiao Bei and the others had already packed their luggage and said goodbye to the children in the school. They also left homework for the little boy who liked to play Monopoly. In fact, it was to let him understand the various data in the game and remember the environment of the places he passed by. After that, he would write a letter and get someone to send it to Xiao Bei and the others before replying. The little boy was very reluctant to leave. He had learned a lot from playing the game. He had obviously learned more than other children of the same age, and this made him yearn for the life of learning in school. People were like this. When they couldn't compare to others, they didn't have the motivation to learn. Once they were strong in a certain aspect, they would become stronger in that aspect because they wanted to protect this advantage. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family's teams took the boat and did their best to advertise that they were going to the Annan Protectorate before going to other places. They even organized a farewell party and left amidst the people's farewells. As soon as they left, the officials in Yi province obviously felt more pressure. Many things that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family arranged after they came over were taken over by them. If they didn't do a good job, the results wouldn't be very good. The fleet moved slowly on the river. In order to reduce the speed when the current was flowing, the boats even set up anti-wind sails to offset some of the power of the current. Other boats hated that they couldn't have an extra pair of wings so that they could move faster. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were afraid that Zhan La's intelligence personnel wouldn't be able to send the news back in time, so they specially sent a report to the Annan Protectorate and asked them to do a lot of local advertising. They said that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family would be coming over soon with a large army, so they had to organize people to level the resting place of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family in advance. Moreover, it was a real start of construction. The local people also had to organize and help with the construction of houses. This money was paid by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. In fact, they wouldn't go at all. The buildings and level grounds could be used for other things, so they could just treat it as helping to build the place. So busy. Zhang Xiaobao stood at the bow of the boat and sighed. It's fine if we're busy. In fact, compared to ordinary people, we're already very relaxed. We don't need to wake up early every day and return home late. Moreover, what we do is more meaningful than what they do. I don't intend to live a life where home, workplace, home. Wang Wan stood beside Zhang Xiaobao and said to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao pointed at the other boats on the river and said, I'm not talking about us, but them. Our fleet has taken up one of their routes, and this is when all the boats are lined up in a straight line. If they were to move horizontally, they wouldn't be able to move at all. Wang Wan looked in the direction Zhang Xiaobao pointed at, and sure enough, it was very busy there. A large cargo ship had sailed against the current and was now slowly moving forward, buying food at the same time. Normally speaking, the ship would prepare its own food, but looking at the situation, in order to be able to carry more goods, the ship would eat along the way, and buy food wherever it went. The people who had boats near the two sides of the river had an additional business. They would prepare the food and put it in a big bucket on the small boat, and then sail the small boat into the river. A small sail was hung on the boat, and the words, Box Lunch Sail, were written on the sail. Many cargo ships would let them pass, and then use a rope to hang the food up, pour out the food, and then hang the bucket back. It was very convenient, and it also saved manpower. There was no need to arrange an extra kitchen to cook, and there was no need to prepare food. If drinking water, they could just drink directly. The only drawback was that the cost was high. The food bought was more expensive than the food cooked by oneself, but not by a lot. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth it. Wang Wan really didn't see such a situation. Now that she saw it, she took out a telescope and looked carefully. The large cargo ship happened to be going against the current, and its speed was not fast. The small boat was flexible, and it was easy to get close to it, but it also looked very dangerous. If they were not careful, the small boat would accidentally hit the big ship. It was impossible to die, but the ship would definitely be destroyed. It's very interesting, isn't it? Zhang Xiaobao saw Wang Wan looking over there and smiled, and said to her, In fact, this is the pursuit of life, and fairness is impossible. Look at the people on the small boat, they have good skills to control the boat, and at the same time, they can think of this method and are willing to work hard. The food they cook must taste good, or there will be competition. Wang Wan followed. She knew what Zhang Xiaobao meant. This part of the people who rowed the boat and sold food would definitely earn more money than others. With money, they could hire others to continue to expand their business, build more boats, and cook more food to sell. The income would increase even more, and the people who were hired by them would naturally not be able to match their income. The word exploitation could be used, and the income fairness of society would be broken. However, when they earned more money, they would have to collect more taxes from them. Otherwise, society would be in turmoil. This was another kind of injustice to them. They were smart and worked hard for it. They earned a lot of money, but there would always be people who were jealous. It's not easy, it's not easy. Regardless of whether they are smart or stupid, there are people like us who help them maintain life. Everything is for the sake of living a better life. Zhang Xiaobao sighed again, like a philosopher. Let's buy a share and try it. Xiaobei's voice sounded not far away. They were also unwilling to stay in the cabin, so they ran to the deck, basked in the sun, and looked at the scenery. They were waiting for others to fall into the water so that they could save them. This was not a very proper way of thinking. Who would wait for others to fall into the water? However, This was what Xiao Bei and the others thought. Unfortunately, this dream was not so easy to realize. There were many boats coming and going, and the people who rowed the boats were proficient in swimming. Even if they fell in, they would probably not wait for Xiao Bei and the others to save them. Following Xiao Bei's instructions, someone immediately shouted in that direction and asked the food seller to come over. Someone else went to prepare a large basin to hold the food. The Tang Empire's unique rice seedling flag was recognized by all Tang people. When he heard the shout, the food seller urged the people on the cargo ship to send the money over. When the money was in hand, the food seller turned the rudder, observed the distance between the two sides, and paddled diagonally against the current. Zhang Xiaobao's boat was also moving forward, but it was not fast. After waiting for a while, the food seller's boat turned the rudder again and moved side by side with the big boat. The small boat was pushed by the big boat's water, and it looked very dangerous, as if it could capsize at any time. There were a total of 4 people on the boat, and 2 of them were in charge of controlling the oars, so that the small boat could fight against the water brought by the big boat again and again, maintaining the balance of the small boat. Xiao Bei looked down and said, "It's not easy. If I were to row, I promised that the boat would capsize and then swim to the shore. However, there is no gain without effort. It looks like a family, not bad." The people on the boat threw down a rope, and at the same time, 2 long poles were extended from the deck. This way, the people rowing the boat did not need to control the oars, but directly grabbed the poles and fixed their small boat so that it was in the same direction as the big boat. When Xiao Bei saw this, he ran into the cabin. When he came out, he held a loudspeaker and shouted to the people below, "Learn from this. In the future, equip your boat with 2 bamboo poles. Why bother controlling the oars?" The people holding the poles on the boat looked up and shouted to Xiao Bei, "Thank you, I didn't think of this before. Look, am I not very noble?" Xiao Bei felt that he had done a very big thing, so he asked Xiao Yuan, who was also looking at the small boat. Xiao Yuan answered wisely, "Noble, you are really too noble. After you taste the food later, you can also give some suggestions for improvement. That will be even more noble." "Okay." Xiao Bei agreed, but then he showed a troubled expression. "If it's really too bad, I'll give you the leftovers, okay? Use a small plate and let's eat 1 portion. I'm going all out. It's just a big mouthful. I don't believe it will kill me." Xiao Yuan mustered a lot of courage. Xiao Bei smiled happily. She was just joking and did not expect Xiao Yuan to be so cooperative. The buckets for the food were quickly brought up. There were 2 buckets of vegetables and 1 bucket of rice, a ratio of 2 to 1. Moreover, there was a bamboo box on one of the buckets for vegetables. Inside the box were salted vegetables. Someone below shouted, "The salted vegetables are not for sale. They are for us to eat. I'll let you have a taste." "Thank you." Xiao Bei shouted back with the loudspeaker. After shouting, he was puzzled and asked Xiao Yuan, "Why don't they sell the salted vegetables?" "Because the salted vegetables are not delicious?" Xiao Yuan replied with uncertainty, then shook his head. "No, if it's not delicious, why would they give it to us? Don't give them money for the salted vegetables. Give them 2 packets of snacks in return. Also, give them a small jar of fermented bean curd and stinky tofu. Courtesy demands reciprocity." Xiao Yuan's last words were an order to the inner courtyard. They were used to not giving money when others gave them things. When the time came, they would give other things in return. In fact, they would lose money every time. The value of the things they gave in return was often several times or even dozens of times the value of the things they gave them. However, once they encountered something, they would still be very happy and would be willing to give more valuable things back. After the food was poured out, the snacks, fermented bean curd, and stinky tofu were put into the buckets and hung back for them. Xiao Bei tried the salted vegetables. They were very ordinary cucumbers and radishes, but they tasted really good. Smacking his lips, Xiao Bei was even more puzzled. "It's pretty good. There's even some sesame oil in it. Especially this cucumber. It was actually soaked in a large sauce and has a sauce fragrance. If it was sold, many people would definitely like to eat it. Could it be that the production can't keep up? Brother. Xiaobei could not understand. When asking her brother, she was naturally asking Zhang Xiaobao and not Xiao Hai. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the salted vegetables and then at the vegetables. He said to his sister, because the people on the cargo ship are also smart. What do you mean? Xiaobei asked. If they sell salted vegetables, then the price of the salted vegetables will definitely be cheaper than the vegetables. Moreover, salted vegetables are also saltier than the vegetables. When the time comes, the people on the cargo ship might only buy a bucket of vegetables and then some salted vegetables. Wouldn't the food seller earn less money? Zhang Xiaobao explained to Xiaobei. Xiaobei and the others all opened their mouths wide. They looked at the salted vegetables in shock and then looked at the vegetables that were poured out. They were very speechless. They only have this little trick up their sleeve? Xiaobei said with a sigh. She felt that this person was really too difficult to judge. A food seller actually had such tricks up his sleeve. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said, "It's not a little trick. It's wisdom in life. Our country is supported by these little tricks. We can learn from them in all kinds of industries and all kinds of things. Then we can promote the development of society. When society develops, more little tricks will appear. Bit by bit, this country will become stronger. Otherwise, look at the people in other places. They are all very stupid. Without little tricks in carpentry, they can't do well in carpentry. Without little tricks in carpentry, they can't build houses. Without little tricks in cooks, how can they come up with better new dishes? Don't underestimate them. They are an important part of society. If someone can learn all the little tricks, then what they have is great wisdom." Got it. Thank you, big brother. Xiaobei listened very seriously and said happily after she understood. Xiao Yuan also said, "So that's how it is. Everything comes from life, and then the changes in life promote the improvement of wisdom. Then, can we sell vegetables and salted vegetables?" Zhang Xiaobao thought for a moment and said, "Since you have nothing to do and don't need to run around and interact with people, you can help them think about how to sell salted vegetables and vegetables at the same time. Yes, consider it as homework for you. Think about it carefully. When you've thought it through and it's really feasible, send someone to tell them to sell food. Eat it. You guys buy it, so eat it first. Even if it's not delicious, you have to eat it." Wang Wan said. Then she looked at the bitter faces of her siblings and smiled. "Let's eat it then. I don't believe that he would dare to poison me. I'll go first. Look, this is an eggplant. It's not roasted eggplant. It's directly stir-fried, and the skin is fried. This is a cabbage slice. There are small bites on the stem of the cabbage. Xiao Yuan, take a look. Is the cabbage fried with vinegar?" Xiaobei went over to look at the dishes. There were a total of 2 dishes. One was an eggplant, and the other was a cabbage. They didn't look good, so she decided to give Xiao Yuan a chance to eat first. Xiao Yuan really went to eat. She took a spoon, scooped out a little, and placed it on the plate. She picked it up with her chopsticks and ate it. Not bad. It's edible. It's just a little bland, and there's little oil. There's actually some meat inside. Then you guys eat. Wang Wan said to her siblings. Then she whispered to Zhang Xiaobao, "How do you think we can sell salted vegetables and vegetables at the same time?" Chapter 1289. Zhang Xiaobao walked to the bow of the ship and waited for Wang Wan to follow him. He said, "It involves the consumers and the market position. For example, what kind of meat do you think is worth 1,000 yuan per kilogram?" "Gubuli meat," Wang Wan answered very quickly. She licked her lips as if she was savoring the aftertaste. Then she said, "I don't think it's that delicious." In the past, to be honest, none of the children in Sijio City ate gubuli steamed buns. Their taste was too low. Is Sijio City a slave city? The name seems to have been passed down from the Qing Dynasty. Zhang Xiaobao said very casually, I don't know if a slave is a slave or not. I only know that if you deliberately forget the name of Sijio City, it shows that you have low self-esteem. It exists. If you change soul to soul, can you abandon your identity as a grandson? If you don't want to be a grandson of this country, you naturally have to be a grandson of another country. Is it possible that this grandson is a grandson and that grandson is not a grandson? Back then, the origin of Yen Huang was only so big. The real enemy was yourself. Only by admitting and tolerating can you show your courage, not be an ostrich. What does salted vegetables have to do with gubbily steamed buns? Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao with a calm face. Zhang Xiaobao was silent for a moment and said, "Yes, the real mentality is not to exclude, but to tolerate. The foundation of China's standing in the world is that the mountain does not reject the soil, so it is high. The sea does not reject the current, so it is wide." "Xiao Yuan, tell me." Zhang Xiaobao's voice was very loud. Wang Xiaoyuan's classmate was tasting how such a disgusting eggplant was made. When he heard the voice, he suddenly raised his head and said, "It's from the Book of Admonition. The original paragraph is, when the land is wide, there are many grains. When the country is big, there are many people. When the soldiers are strong, they are brave. Therefore, Mount Tai does not give in to the soil, so it can be big. The sea does not reject the current, so it can be deep. The king does not reject the masses, so he can understand his virtue." Answer complete. I want to show off in front of me. I am a narrow-minded person. I know a lot, right? Tell me, how do you make eggplants? Xiao Bei vaguely felt that he had memorized it before, but now he had forgotten. When he heard Xiao Yuan answer immediately, he felt indignant. Wang Wan revealed a gratified smile. Her younger brother really did live up to her expectations. She looked at Zhang Xiaobao provocatively. Seeing Xiao Yuan was being bullied, Zhang Xiaobao immediately said to his younger brother, "It's said that those who enjoy universal praise and praise, those who enjoy universal praise and praise will never get tired of the details. Those who enjoy universal praise and praise will always agree with each other. Those who enjoy universal praise and praise will always agree with each other. Those who enjoy universal praise and praise will always be roasted over an open fire. Of course, because of the meat, the plain flavor is not as good as the meat. Stir the pot with a fierce fire, then add water, and float a spoonful of oil." Xiao Yuan's eyes widened, and he nodded vigorously. He understood. Those who enjoy universal praise and praise were those who cut the meat into thin pieces. When it is cooked, it will be cooked quickly, and when it is eaten raw, it will not be so disgusting. If the amount is small, it will be finished before it is disgusting. Furthermore, they will feel that the taste is not bad. Roasting it was a method of cooking meat, but this was a method of cooking vegetarian dishes. When cooking vegetarian dishes, there was a way to save money. Place the eggplants in a large pot and stir-fry them. Xiao Yuan understood the oil slick. His older brother sometimes used it when cooking, but it was not for the sake of saving money. It was for the sake of keeping the food warm. When the soup was ready, sprinkling some cooked oil could keep the food warm for a very long time. However, it was obvious that the eggplants in front of him were definitely not for the sake of keeping the food warm. It was to let people see that every piece of eggplant had the smell of oil on it. Hence, Xiao Yuan said to Xiao Bei, "I know. Look, I'll analyze it for you. When they stir-fry, they use a large pot to save time, effort, and fire. However, they don't add oil, so the eggplants are cooked. At this time, the eggplants are easily dehydrated. They pour water in, but don't add salt. When they are cooked, they first scoop a spoonful of oil into it and mix it with the salt. Therefore, when we eat it, we can't tell what's going on." "You're right. I was wondering why the eggplants didn't taste good. When they stir-fry, they don't add oil, and they don't put enough garlic. Look, there are only a few pieces of garlic on the plate. Is there anyone who doesn't use garlic when eating eggplants? Yes, it's eaten raw. If not, it's steamed and dipped in sauce. Anyway, I haven't found any other processing methods that don't add more garlic." Xiao Bei did not understand what his brother was hinting to Xiao Yuan. He used his chopsticks to poke the eggplant twice and said something. What if someone avoids certain foods? Xiao Yuan did not forget to cover up for some picky people. Unless it's eating something that will make one sick, such as allergies, what else can one avoid? If he doesn't starve, of course he avoids certain foods. I also avoid certain foods. When I eat outside, the food they make is so disgusting. Have I eaten it? Can't I bear with it? If he doesn't eat garlic, add garlic to his medicine when he's sick. Let me see if he avoids certain foods. If he's spoiled, it's all problems. Xiao Bei had clearly suffered a lot. When she ate with others outside, she had to smile and communicate with them while eating. As long as it wasn't poisoned, she would eat what others could eat. Xiao Yuan nodded. That's right. In that case, the cost of the vegetables they sell is even lower. Look at the cabbage. The worm eyes on the stem are too obvious. I don't eat them. Even if you cherish food, you don't have to cherish it so much. Don't make things difficult for yourself. Just try it. If no one eats it, feed it to the pigs. The pigs on the ship eat everything. Let me see the cabbage. This time, Zhang Xiaobao did not let his younger siblings eat the vegetables they bought according to the principle of cherishing food. The vegetables were cooked too carelessly. Taking a pair of chopsticks, he picked up a piece of cabbage and chewed it in his mouth. Zhang Xiaobao sighed and said, I thought it was stir-fried cabbage. I didn't expect it to be cooked. After it's cooked, the water in the pot that's too obvious is poured out. Then, add salt, stir it, and add oil. This shows that it's not easy for the people running the ship. A barrel of cabbage is 50 caddies, and a quarter of the water is 2 copper coins per caddy. It looks very cheap, but the cost is less than a fifth. Cabbage and eggplants are produced in large quantities during this season. No, the profit is too much, and it shouldn't be earned like this. When it's time for dinner, we'll make some and let the people at home disguise themselves to sell it. You guys are in charge of salting vegetables. Zhang Xiaobao arranged things for his younger siblings to do. Xiao Bei was not afraid of work. Her eyes lit up as she asked excitedly, We're making salted vegetables? What if we can't do it well? Cold dressing, Zhang Xiaobao replied. That's a cold dish. We'll add more salt. Got it, it's just salt, nothing else. Xiao Bei thought about making salted vegetables and felt that it was very easy. Make garlic eggplants, and take out the salted duck eggs at home and cut them open. I'll instruct the kitchen to make 6 dishes, 2 meat dishes and 4 vegetable dishes. The profit will be controlled at 30%, and you can choose. Anyone who chooses a meat dish will get a free portion of salted vegetables, half a garlic eggplant, or half a salted duck egg. Zhang Xiaobao said to his younger siblings. Xiao Bei and the others revealed awkward expressions. If they sold like this, they would not be able to sell anything, and they would be given a lot of free eggplants. They would be busy, and there would be risks associated with it. Xiao Bei was very unwilling. She rolled her eyes and said, Brother, didn't we say to sell the salted vegetables? It's not worth it to give them all away. Sell it and give it a try. First, we have to attack the people who sell bento boxes on the river. Today, they can cut corners, tomorrow, they can sell shoddy goods, and the day after tomorrow, they will become unscrupulous. Before, I thought it was not easy for them, but now I know that human nature is always hard to understand. Zhang Xiaobao said calmly, as if he was not angry. Wang Wan knew that Zhang Xiaobao had already thought it through. It was impossible to ask everyone to act according to morality. Many people could abandon everything under the influence of money, so they had to use other means to let them know what they could do and what they could not do. Xiao Bei and the others looked at the dishes, threw down their chopsticks, and turned back to the cabin. They would first learn what they had to learn today. When it was almost time, they would arrange for someone to help steam the eggplants so that they could make garlic eggplants. They did not need to care about the salted duck eggs. When the time came, someone would help to cut them. After selling all the salted vegetables today, we will see the results. In the future, we will let our people in Ezhou be in charge of making food. First, we will attack them for 2 months. Then they will be honest. When the price is low to a certain extent, the competition will be on the quality. Originally, I planned to let Xiao Bei and the others think of a way to slowly create a salted vegetable brand. Now, we have to change our strategy. In the future, our people in Yizhou will add oyster sauce to every salted vegetable. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the people who were still selling food below and said to Wang Wan. Wang Wan was also watching and frowned. The good impression she had of them when they sent the pickled vegetables was gone. How daring were they to send those dishes up? Did they think that they would not lay a hand on ordinary people? Good and evil did not distinguish between high and low. After thinking for a while, Wang Wan asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Aren't you afraid that bad money will drive good money away? I know that you want them to get used to the taste of salted vegetables and establish a place in their hearts, but you have to sell the food first. If you sell it at a 30% markup, you will still be selling it at a higher price than them. When the time comes, they will suddenly lower the price and control the profit to 50%. Then, will you still be able to sell your boxed lunches? Unless you sell them at a lower price and compete with them in terms of capital, they will sell cheaper food. The crew is willing to eat good food, but the owner of the ship likes cheaper food. And the owner is the one who spends money. Who do you think he will choose to buy?" Zhang Xiaobao was still looking at the boat below. Wei Wei smiled and said, "If we can't compete with them in terms of price, then we will compete with them in terms of variety and service. Not many people like to eat buckwheat, but if it is made into cold noodles, it tastes good. If you eat the same food all the time, you will get tired of it. It is a time of war now, so all the goods shipped to Yizhou are easy to sell." After a while, when they want to ship goods to Yizhou, they will set sail at the same time. Whoever arrives first will have the advantage. Going against the current is useless with only sails. They also need a tracker and someone to row the boat. The amount of effort the crew put in will depend on how much profit they get. When the wages are the same, whoever eats better will be willing to work harder. I believe that a smart owner will make the right choice. Then, it will not be bad money driving good money away, but good money driving bad money away. I don't want to issue an administrative order to ask the food sellers to follow the rules, and I don't want to publish any biased articles in the newspaper. I will let the facts tell them what others want and what they should do." Wang Wan did not refute Zhang Xiaobao this time. She said, "When they lose money, we can ask the people in the newspaper to interview them and let them talk about the situation. Then, we can tell more people how to choose." Chapter 1290. Zhang Xiaobao gave the order. The fleet slowly passed by. The local boats selling food suddenly discovered that there were new people joining them. They didn't know any of these people who joined later, but when they heard that the price was 1/3 higher than theirs, they all felt relieved, thinking that there was no possibility of competition. However, when these people came to sell food the next day, they actually put up slogans on the ships. It was not accurate to say that they were slogans, but they were describing what their food was like. With such a straightforward description, many owners who didn't eat well on their way here really started to buy food for the people who followed them. Looking at the crew members who bought food and ate happily on the big ship, the original food merchants felt a little worried. This place was too close to Yizhou. Ships from other places would dock at Yizhou's dock. When the time came, the people on the various ships would casually talk about the food here. When the people on the ships heard about the food here, most of them would choose the ship that sold the food that appeared later. After all, the food on the other ship was really good. When they saw the food, they felt that it was better than the food they sold. Moreover, it was more cost-effective to buy and eat. When they were worried, the original people began to gather together to discuss a way to reverse the harsh situation they were about to face. "Brother Zhang, this is not right." A woman who was in charge of rowing the ship shouted to a person on a small boat that was approaching. The person who was called by her swayed the oars twice to weaken the waves sweeping over. After a while, he pursed his lips and said, "You can't fight. See, there are 12 new boats. I didn't see them yesterday. They must have just come from Yizhou. They have a strong foundation." According to his words, He wanted to use force to solve the problem, but now he understood that he didn't dare. The other party had a team and sent a new boat. What he couldn't figure out was who organized a group of people and didn't do anything else but spend money to buy boats and come here to snatch food. He also estimated that according to the words on the board, they wouldn't make much money. It would be good if they could make a profit of 10% or 20%. Wouldn't it be a thankless job to eat this bowl of rice on the river? After thinking about it, he decided to go over and ask to see what was going on. It would be best if he could find someone to talk to and discuss with them. Everyone should not engage in vicious competition. Yes, vicious competition was a good word. Therefore, he rowed the boat closer to them and waited for the people to send the buckets of food onto the boat. After receiving the money, he tried his best to squeeze out a smile and greeted, "Little brother, the food is selling well?" "It's all right. Thank you for your kind words." The smile of the young man on the boat was much more sincere, but there was no logo on his clothes, not even the brand of a local clothing store. "What kind of auspicious words are you? I can't wait for your boat to capsize." Old Zhang cursed in his heart. After thinking about it, he mustered up his courage and said, "Brother, it's not easy for us to eat on the river. Can we make a deal? Can we change the food sold so that we can sell the same food at the same price?" I don't have the final say. I personally agree with what you said, old bro. It's not a bad idea to adjust it. Why don't you learn from us and slightly raise the price? Right now, we're earning too little. Your low price and low quality are disrupting the market. The young man on the boat still had that sincere smile on his face, but what he said made old Zhang very angry. "You're clearly the ones who came later. Why are you pushing the blame to us? What I'm saying is that the food you sell is too good." "Yo, old bro, I don't dare to continue what you said. Do you mean to say that the food you sell is bad? Isn't that a lie? To put it bluntly, I've seen the food you're selling. The color isn't good, and the things inside aren't well kept. Brother, are you selling egg drop soup? I've seen that the egg drops are broken into pieces. Every spoonful has thin pieces of egg drop in it, and there are also a few pieces of rotten vegetable leaves. You can't do business like this. From the looks of it, you first put the eggs into cold water, then you stir them with all your might. After that, you cook them. It's just like the ones you sell. Moreover, you use oil. If the water isn't boiled, people will have a stomachache if they eat it." The young man slowly moved the oars to prevent the current from washing the boat away. Old Zhang looked at the young man's skillful movement and was puzzled. He was so young, and he had never seen it before. How could he not be washed away by the water? What shocked and frightened him even more was that the young man actually knew how to make his unique egg drop soup. This was something he had thought about for a long time before he figured it out. He did not even tell the people who sold food on the river. After being scolded by the young man, he still had to explain, "It won't hurt the stomach. Normally, when people are thirsty, they just scoop water from the river. Even raw water won't hurt the stomach, much less hot water." "So you admit that your water is not boiled?" At this time, the young man's smile disappeared. He did not expect that the people who were supposed to be harmonious and helping each other would start to become smart. Instead of thinking about improving the quality of their own food, they purposely used tricks to trick the people on the boats. "It's boiled, it's boiled. If it's not boiled, how can it become a flour?" Old Zhang quickly denied. He did not know why he was afraid of the young man's angry gaze. Then he said in a panic, "Even if you give them good food, they won't remember your kindness. They come and go, and they don't know when they will see each other again. They all came from far away, so why fight with us locals?" "Right." The young man lowered his head and thought for a moment. He did not say anything again. Instead, he greeted the other boats and asked them to lower the price to the same level as the food on the other boats. He wanted them to lose money and sell it as soon as possible. Then, he would return to the shore and report to the young master and young lady to explain the situation clearly. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had just finished teaching calligraphy to their younger siblings. The 9 of them did not return to the cabin. Instead, they practiced under the parasols on the deck. They were not complaining or tired. Instead, they felt that it was very interesting to write beautifully. This was the influence of the environment. When there was nothing to do in the inner courtyard, they would practice calligraphy. If there was a chance, they would learn to enrich themselves. Naturally, Xiaobei and the others did not feel that practicing calligraphy was boring. Every time they found that they wrote well, they would be very happy. It was a sense of achievement. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan accompanied them. Each of them had a book in their hands. They read while resting. Occasionally, they would stand up and walk around their younger siblings, praising them. When the person who had accepted the mission yesterday sent back the information, the two of them were surprised. Too fast. It's at least a year faster than I thought. It seems that the people's learning ability and adaptability are very strong. I forgot that our people have a good tradition. That's why they have blocked our technology for more than 100 years. This tradition is a copy. It's very impressive. After Zhang Xiaobao finished reading the information, he did not show an angry expression, nor did he panic. Instead, he praised. Wang Wan also had a calm expression. She smiled at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "This shows that they have a strong learning ability. It can also reduce the cost. Without the previous copy, there would be no later development. The problem now is not that they love learning and research, but that they have a moral deviation in the pursuit of material life." "Didn't you leave a backup plan? Take it out and let us see." Zhang Xiaobao also laughed. After laughing, he said, "It's not easy to govern a country. If you really become an emperor, not only do you have to calculate all the officials all day, but you also have to consider the details of the people's lives. You don't have time to do things like we do for fun. Alright, let's set up a folk food association. Our family will be the leader of various places for a period of time. After a few years, the association will be on the right track. If you can't practice anymore, come and listen." "Don't look so uncomfortable." Zhang Xiaobao's last words were directed at his younger siblings. Whenever he chatted with Wang Wan, the little fellows would not be able to focus on their writing and would always want to participate. The speed at which they moved the pen slowed down significantly, and they gradually lost their strength. Xiao Yuan's ears even twitched. Xiao Bei and the others immediately set up their pens and turned around to look at their brothers and sisters. Xiao Bei took the telegram and passed it around. After reading it, Xiao Bei said angrily, "It's too unreasonable. Doing business requires honesty. They clearly don't care about other people's health and only do things for money. It's not good." The other 8 children felt the same. They all tried to think of how to change this situation. After a long time, people would lose trust. Without trust, it would affect the efficiency of cooperation. Xiao Yuan said, "Shouldn't we, the Tang Dynasty's patrol inspector, give an order and tell them not to do that? What do you think?" Zhang Xiaobao asked Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan thought about it and shook her head. "I don't think so. There aren't so many supervisors. The most important thing is that there is no industry standard. When the time comes, how to convict them will be a problem." Xiao Bei was also distressed. Although she was young, she also knew that the law could not punish the majority. Now, everyone was using poor quality food to gain high profits. After the next zero, the government would send people to every household to keep an eye on them? How much administrative cost would that have to cost? Moreover, it would be a waste of human resources. Otherwise, as long as they were not watched, they would still make inferior food. Xiao Nan opened his mouth and said softly, "We should strengthen publicity and education. We should say in the newspapers that doing this is wrong. The people of Tang Dynasty have to do things well and sell the best food to the sailors along the way." "How many people do you think will listen?" Zhang Xiaobao asked Xiao Nan again. "Yes, some of them. Anyway, they can't listen to all of them. They have to make money. Besides, there is no standard for what is good and what is bad, and there is no price standard. When the time comes, it will be a mess." Xiao Nan thought of himself as a food seller and said awkwardly. "Then who will set the standard?" Zhang Xiaobao asked again. My family will do it. Xiao Nan felt that his family was more reliable. Zhong Xiaobao nodded. Our family has to come up with a standard first. In the future, people will get used to it. We will form a food association and recruit people in the food industry. Then we will discuss and come up with a standard. Everyone can't lose money, but the profit can't be too high either, unless it is something rare. Wang Wan agreed. This was the fastest solution. If they used other methods, it would take too long. If they pushed the matter of setting the standard to the government, they would have to wait. Besides, the government might not know all the problems of the food industry very well. When the time came, they would still need to find people in the industry. Rather than listen to the government, it was better to guide them first. However, it was not good to always interfere directly. If it was another time, it would not be like this. Instead, they would slowly adjust and use other methods to achieve their goal. I have a question. Xiao Bei said, if we set up an association in each place, we can solve problems according to the specific situation of each place. Besides, my family's prestige is very high. But, is it mandatory for all the people in the same industry to join? Is it mandatory? That's right. My family's Xiao Bei is right. Xiao Yuan shamelessly agreed. Our association has a standard, and hygiene is especially important. What if some people are not willing to join and still use low prices and inferior quality to attack the market? Who is your family? Don't be so thick-skinned. Xiao Bei nudged Xiao Yuan. Aren't we family? And brother Xiao Hai and the rest. Xiao Yuan looked very innocent. If I don't talk to you, you will secretly change the concept. Xiao Bei nudged Xiao Yuan again. However, Xiao Fang's eyes lit up. She said, that's right. We can establish the concept that everything in our association is the safest, most reliable, and most reassuring. It's a reputation. If they don't join, we will just ignore them. In the end, they will not attack the market, but they will lose the market. Think about it. Isn't this the logic? When Xiaofang said this, the others started to think according to her train of thought. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that it made sense. After the association was established, there would be many people joining. Then, the association could give all the members a symbol and let them show it when they were doing business. It would tell the buyers that if they felt any discomfort after buying food from the association's members, the association would investigate. If the investigation results showed that it was because of the food, compensation would be given. Although medical treatment was free, the medical hall would not pay for the loss of time due to illness. The association could pay for it. Moreover, the association's members could communicate with each other in various ways to increase the competitiveness of their products. They could also reduce costs while ensuring quality. Everyone would be united. It would not take long for the buyers to recognize the merchants who had the association's membership. They would feel assured that they could buy such food and would not have to worry about problems. As for those who had not joined the association, very few people would be willing to eat it no matter how low the price was. Furthermore, there would be a consequence. The lower the price, the more people would not dare to buy it. It was obvious after thinking about it. Could it be that the seller of such cheap food did not make money? Were they all philanthropists? That was impossible. Since they were making money, it meant that the product was definitely not good. Who would dare to buy it? Did they not want their lives? The 9 little guys thought of this without much effort. All of them revealed happy expressions. It was as if they were in a good mood when others ate good food. We've done another good deed. Brother, why is it so difficult to make the people listen to us? Why do we have to harm others for a bit of money? It's not easy for everyone. Why do we have to hurt others? When Xiaobei thought of what had happened before, she felt sad. Couldn't they all live a good life? Then, everyone would go and deal with the people from other countries. They would snatch their good things and capture their people to do dangerous work. This was what Xiaobei thought. She felt that she had thought it through very well. She never thought that it was wrong to bully people from other countries. She also did not think that other people's lives were easy. Zhang Xiaobao knew what his sister was thinking, so he did not care. If Xiaobei was really so kind and good to everyone, he would have specially educated her. Human nature was sinister. The essence of social development was competition. If everyone was harmonious, how could there be competition? However, Zhang Xiaobao did not want his sister to be sad over such a small matter. Hence, he said to Xiaobei, "This is the driving force for human development. It cannot be eliminated. Once there is no driving force, humans are finished." Regardless of whether it is domestic competition under the constraints of the law or external invasion and war, they are all normal individual and group behavior. In fact, in this world, the most aggressive creatures are not tigers or wolves, but humans. Wolves are scary, but do you think more wolves die in the hands of humans or humans die in the mouths of wolves? Of course it's because more wolves die. They can't win against humans. For example, if I were to encounter a wolf, the wolf would definitely die because I have a gun. However, isn't this because humans know how to use tools? What does it have to do with aggression? Xiaobei patted her waist. In fact, she did not wear her gun, which meant that it had been there before. Wang Wan understood Zhang Xiaobao and said to Xiaobei, "Tools have a purpose, but tools are auxiliary. Real people will store a lot of food. In nature, there are not many animals that store food, and even if they store food, they will only store a little. Even if they do not need to keep food fresh, animals that eat rotten food will not store so much. However, humans are different. Humans will try their best to store things when they have the chance, especially food. For example, how much food should be stored in the Tang Empire? 9 years. Xiaobei gestured a number with her hand. 3 years of drought, 3 years of floods, 3 years of war, and people in chaos. A family does not have 3 years of accumulation, and a family does not have a family. A country does not have 9 years of accumulation. A country is in trouble. Yes, your brother and I are now thinking of storing enough food in the Tang Empire to last for 9 years. Preservation is a problem, but we have been working hard and solved a part of it. When conditions are met in the future, we will build many cold storages and freeze the meat in them. They can be stored for a long time. When that time comes, we will no longer have to worry about the people not having enough to eat. Now, your brother and I are afraid of large-scale natural disasters. Even if we release the food, the disasters will still continue. Your brother and I can't solve the problem, but we probably can't. Wang Wan talked about storage. This was also the reason why she dared to start a war. The cannibals did not have so much food in storage. This autumn was when they started to starve, unlike the Tang Empire, which dragged on for 2 years, and the people in the country continued to live as usual. Xiaobei nodded with a look of happiness. She felt that the country was very stable, just like when she had many toys and candies when she was young. That's true. I used to like to store things. I was afraid that they would run out of food, Xiaobei said. That's why humans are the most aggressive, because they are willing to store food. You saw the dozen live lions that were brought back by the ships that went overseas. They live in a place called Africa. There are many cows and horses there. When lions see something, they eat it. Even if it is a herd of cows, they will kill one and eat until they are full. They will not store it. If it were a human, they would think of a way to raise the herd of cows and then kill them to eat at any time. Wang Wan gave an example. I understand. Humans are insatiably greedy, so it is impossible to guarantee that everyone will be obedient and willing to give up their own interests. If that was the case, the ones ruling this land now would not be humans. As Xiaobei spoke, she ran in front of Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao. She kissed both of their cheeks and said, "When we go to school to listen to other children, the teachers don't teach like this. They don't discuss with the students. Whatever they say, the students remember. They are the absolute authority. It's not good. We can understand, but many children are tired of listening. They only know the facts but don't know why. Even if they go home and ask their family members, they need their family members to understand. It'll be better when they grow up. Now, they may seem to be rote memorizing, but as they grow older, they will come back to understand and memorize the knowledge. There's no other way. There are too few teachers. They can't give as much as we teach you. They are too busy. Zhang Xiaobao explained to his sister. Oh, so that's how it is. I thought they weren't doing their best. Xiaobei understood again. Just as she was talking about her teacher, Xiaozhu suddenly pointed towards a large ship coming from the opposite direction and shouted, "Someone come, capture the person standing on the deck of that ship for me. Issue an arrest warrant, he still dares to wander around." Everyone looked at the bow of the ship. Sure enough, there was a person standing there. His beard and hair fluttered in the wind. Xiaobei and the others did not have any impression of him. They did not recognize him at all. On the other hand, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan suddenly remembered who that was. That was the person who had come to Wing Prefecture to teach students and obtain a tiger pelt. In the end, he turned around and ran away. He didn't teach the children anymore and tricked the Chong tiger. When they went over, Xiaobei heard him. She asked someone to draw him according to Chong Hu's description and issue an arrest warrant, which was a national arrest warrant. In the end, many days passed, but there was no news. It was probably because it was not a homicide case, so no one was willing to spend the effort to find him. Xiaobei did not set a time limit, which meant that she was not in a hurry. If they met normally, even Zhang Xiaobao would not recognize him. At that time, he saw a portrait and was not familiar with him, so it was over after a face-to-face meeting. However, Xiaozhu was different. She liked to draw and had a deep impression of any lines and colors. The moment the two ships approached, she was recognized. Who? Xiaobei was puzzled. The one who tricked the tiger pelt. You gave the order at that time. We raised our hands in agreement, Xiaozhu said. Ah, it's him? Aya, he's too unlucky. Why is he standing on the bow of the ship for no reason? Looking at his leisurely appearance, I'm angry again, Xiaobei said excitedly. Xiao Yuan added, his luck is not good, but it can also be said that the net of heaven has wide meshes. There are already few teachers, but he still wandered around after tricking the tiger pelt. Now, we have to think about how to deal with him. He tricked Xiaofang's father. Following Xiaozhu's instructions, the ships behind immediately approached and negotiated with the other party. There was no need to waste too much time. The owner of the ship handed the person over. Although this person had paid the money and followed the ship, who would dare to not give the person to the Zhang family and the Wang family? They did not know what this person had done to be caught by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's team. They only hoped that they would not be implicated. Ship money, ship money. I paid when I boarded the ship. We haven't reached Izhou yet. Why can't you refund me the money? Ship money. The first thing that the person who was caught thought of was not his own fate, but the fact that he had paid too much before they reached the destination. Here, it's a total of 27 copper coins. I don't want a single copper coin. I'll return it all to you. I don't know you. Others pay 30 copper coins and provide 2 meals a day. You keep talking to me, but I only charge you 27 copper coins and provide you 3 meals. I even throw in a pot of wine. Anyway, you're going to die, so I won't be angry with a dead person. Think about what crime you committed. The owner of the ship stuffed the 27 copper coins into the person's hand. He expressed his innocence to the person who caught him and said that he did not know anything. He then shook his head, feeling unlucky that his ship was carrying a person who was going to die. After receiving the money, the person no longer shouted at the owner. Instead, he shouted at the person who caught him, "Why did you catch me? I didn't commit any crime. Everything is just a matter of reason. Speak reason. Otherwise, the Zhang family and the Wang family of Sanshui can't just casually arrest people. Do you still want the law? Even if you want me to die, I want to know why. Do you dare to tell me why you caught me? There are so many people on the ship watching and listening. Say it and let everyone judge." The person who caught him nodded and asked the people who were watching the show, "Does anyone want to hear the reason? My family's little ancestors issued a wanted poster a few days ago. Schwa. The deck was quiet. No one could see anyone else. No one was interested in listening. The person who was caught was dumbfounded. He shouted at the other side of the ship, You're afraid of the rich and powerful. You've forgotten the law and etiquette. You're impudent. Hurry up and follow them. Don't shout, it's useless. We're not afraid of anyone. We just believe that Xiao Bei won't wrongly accuse you. Be a good person in your next life. A rough voice came from one of the ship's cabins. The other cabins were very quiet. It was obvious that they had silently agreed. This person was escorted to the flagship by a few guards. When his feet touched the deck, his legs immediately turned to jelly. He had no idea what crime he had committed. Not only had he been captured, but Xiao Bei and the others had personally given the order. He felt that he was wrongly accused and wanted to ask for support. However, they supported Xiao Bei. That was a kind of absolute trust. Even if he was wrongly accused, in front of the King of Hell, the King of Hell would say that he was guilty and not reasonable. The more he thought about it, the more afraid he became. He felt that his death was not worth it and was very sullen. They caught the wrong person. They must have caught the wrong person. When he was brought to see Xiao Bei and the others, he was still muttering to himself, trying to boost his courage. When he reached the top deck, he saw the 9 little guys and 2 people that he often saw on the map, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Moreover, he saw that Cuckoo was smiling. He thought of a saying, Demonis Cuckoo, a smile can destroy the world, heartless Xiao Bao, killing without spilling blood. In an instant, his body was piled up. If it were not for the people on both sides holding him up, he would have collapsed on the deck. When Xiao Bei saw that the person was being escorted, he stood up from his chair. With his hands behind his back, he walked over to the person and smiled sweetly. You're here. No. I'm not here. The person trembled as he replied. What are you afraid of? Aren't you quite brave? I won't ask your name. I'm just... Ask. Even if I die, I want to leave my name. The person clenched his teeth and said, Die. Xiao Bei was stunned. He did not want to die just to lie, right? What? I can't even die? You want to put me on Vermilion Bird Street? My surname is Tan. My name is Tan Sikong. I know. Your name is Tan Sikong. It's one character different from a certain person, but he is much braver than you. He can say that he will laugh at the heavens with his sword in hand and leave behind only his guts. Compared to him, you are not only lacking in courage, but your character is also far worse. If it were another person with a different identity, they would not be targeted by my younger brothers and sisters. You are really too hateful. Your actions will leave a very deep impression on many children. It will make them feel that the most beautiful fantasy in the world is shattered. Wang Wan looked at the person called Tan Sikong and said with a cold laugh. She really hated this person from the bottom of her heart. Teachers were the ones who taught and educated people. They were the people that children admired and trusted the most. In the past, when a child went to a teacher's house, it was like returning home. It was very peaceful. Even if they encountered the most dangerous situation, as long as the teacher was by their side, they would not be afraid. Once this feeling of attachment was broken by reality, a shadow would be left in the child's heart. He would feel that there was no one in the world that he could trust anymore. It would take a lot of effort to slowly reverse this feeling. Fortunately, there were people from his family in Yizhou City. His family's reputation was higher than that of the teacher in the children's hearts. The shop assistants and other people in charge of the business were knowledgeable and patient, so it did not cause too much loss. Otherwise, once such a thing happened in an area inhabited by ethnic minorities, the imperial court would not want to rule it anymore. It was not easy to win over the people's hearts, but it was very easy to destroy them. Zhang Xiaobao also had a gloomy face. He knew that the sentence could not be too heavy. Tan Sitsong's crime was not serious. It was just fraud. The person involved had not reported it to the authorities, let alone investigate. But in theory, the consequences were very serious. According to the warning sentence of the Western countries, the sentence would be very heavy, especially in terms of financial compensation. Tan Sikong did not know that he was actually not that serious. He was very afraid. He felt that he would definitely be put on the Vermilion Bird Avenue in the capital with other people who had committed serious crimes. He wanted to die, but he couldn't. He would be tortured countless times. Then, he would be studied by the medical school. In the end, he could not hold on and would painfully lose his life. Therefore, he cried. He was so wronged. He did not know what crime he had committed, but he was caught. Looking at Cuckoo's smile and looking at Xiao Bao's expression, he thought, what are they doing? What did I do? Don't cry. Why are you crying as a man? Xiao Bei was vexed when he heard Tan Sikong cry. He said, are you regretting it now? When you were in Ezhou swindling a tiger pelt, why didn't you think about how sad Uncle Chong Hu was? If it were not for my father, he would have already fought with the imperial court. When the time comes, tell me, should we fight or not? Did you think it was easy for my father? It was not easy to leave some feelings for him, but you almost ruined it. Did you not think about it when you did things? You even had a high scholar background. For a piece of broken pelt, you don't even want your face anymore. Heaven is watching. You didn't expect that we would catch you today. After Xiao Bei finished speaking, Tan Sikong stopped crying. Instead, he became more energetic. He stood up straight and looked at the people in front of him. He laughed and said, Tiger pelt, you scared me to death. It's just a piece of tiger pelt. According to the law, I have to be whipped 5 times, right? Okay, go ahead. Zhang Xiaobao was confused by his behavior. What was the meaning of this? Was he proficient in the law? Wei Wei opened her mouth and stared at Tan Sikong in surprise. She blinked and swallowed her saliva. She asked, You're not afraid? What's there to be afraid of? If I make a mistake, I will be punished. A piece of tiger pelt is not worth much in this place. At most, I will be whipped 5 times. 5 whips can't kill me, right? You are from the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families. If you want a reason, I am willing to be beaten. Tan Sikong gave Xiao Bei a smile and puffed out his chest. It seemed that he was going to throw caution to the wind. The people who brought him back immediately told them what happened on the boat. Everyone understood that the person in front of them was a money grubber. This kind of person should not be taking the high scholar exam, nor should he be a teacher. He should be doing business. It would be strange if he did not make a fortune. Zhang Feng did not want to accept it. She saw that Tan Sikong would rather be whipped 5 times than admit his mistake and not return the tiger pelt. She did not care how much the tiger pelt was worth, but she could not stand his attitude after he made a mistake. He was ignoring human nature and morality outside of the law. Thus, Zhang Feng went to Xiao Bei and asked Tan Sikong, in other words, you admit to your crime? Is that right? Tan Sitsong's smile did not change, and he nodded, yes, I admit that I lied to the people over there. I am guilty, but the tiger pelt is gone. Also, I hope that you can uphold the reputation of your family and not act based on your personal preferences. Go ahead, I want to see how it feels to be whipped. After Tan Sikong finished speaking, his eyes swept across Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao's faces. He was still a little nervous, but he felt that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo would not convict him of a bigger crime. Xiaofang laughed awkwardly. Ha! Whipped? You admitted to your crime, right? I didn't wrong you, right? Yes, yes. Tan Sikong was still stubbornly holding on. Good, it's good that you admit to it. Someone, report to the Emperor in the capital. Say that the Tang Empire's patrol team has personally caught a case. We request the Imperial Court to handle the case fairly and follow the procedures. Zhang Feng took a deep breath, gritted her teeth and said. Tan Sikong felt that something was wrong and asked, What do you mean? How is this related to the Imperial Court? My crime should be handled by the local authorities. If the local authorities can't do anything about it, we will arrest you directly. Also, we are the Tang Empire's patrol team. Those who are caught will be punished with 5 grades of punishment. There are no exceptions. I want to see if you will be whipped. Xiao Bei continued and said to Tan Sikong, then laughed out loud. Tan Sikong knelt on the deck and moved closer to Wang Wan and Zhong Xiaobao, begging, Xiaobao, Cuckoo, save me. You can't let them judge me like this. You are the ones who caught me, okay? Don't send me to the capital. I will be punished with death by 1,000 cuts. Really, believe me, I am familiar with the Tang Empire's laws. Being whipped 5 times will definitely not end well. Really? I didn't know about it. So that's the case. Then, let's follow the procedures. You are not caught by us. Zhong Xiaobao said deliberately. He had to scare Tan Sikong. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.